Welcome everybody to a very special Battlefield 2 summit. For me, Battlefield 2 is basically the pinnacle of the franchise, and this year we are celebrating the 20th anniversary. For that reason I thought, hey, I really want some veterans in my Discord channel and have a nice roundtable discussion. But before we go really into it, maybe let's have a quick introduction round. Maybe everybody can tell me a little bit, who are you guys and how did you get into Battlefield 2?
All right, who begins? Me?
You're the first in the Discord, so yeah.
Okay, and then let's have Discord decide, yeah. So anyway, I'm Tears Forever, and I'm a developer for the Forgotten Hope 2 mod for Battlefield 2. I'm mostly a level designer, although I've done some other stuff as well. And yeah, so I'm actually mostly a Forgotten Hope 2 guy. I have Battlefield 2, and I played it back when it was still sold. I played it a little bit just to get a feel for it and so on, but I never really got into it.
But then later I definitely want to know how you got into Forgotten Hope 2 as a developer. But for that, a little bit later. Now, BF Phantom, is that correct?
Yeah, more just Phantom. It's how you feel comfortable. So yeah, the question was how I got into Battlefield 2, right?
Yeah, and who you are basically.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just a player, a gamer. Like I love Battlefield 2. I mean Battlefield franchise as a whole, but I got into it like with Battlefield 2. Like I was going. It was I don't know. It was around 2006, 2007 maybe, but I guess it was 2006. And I was going after school to internet cafes. I was playing whatever games it was. Like it was most popular, GTA Vice City, and I don't know. It was a lot of games there, Counter-Strike. And at some point, yeah, I saw older guys than me. They were playing this game with tanks and jets, and I was looking and yeah, I was thinking, man, that actually looks cool. Like like you play like a soldier and you can do all these things with vehicles and all of that. So yeah, I found out about the game and I tried it. I don't even remember the first game or whatever. But I'm pretty sure I tried it with bots maybe in the beginning, because where I was going to the internet cafe, it was like around, I don't know, 12 PCs there. So even though you could make a LAN party with all those people, you could still have on a server like 12 people playing, So the smallest map on Battlefield 2, it was with 16 players. But yeah, that's how I got into Battlefield, and Battlefield 2 was my first Battlefield title. It was at internet cafes, and since then I loved it. But after a while, after I finished school and all of that, I didn't have a PC at home. So at some point in 2011, my sister bought an iMac for the family. So I was thinking about playing games, even though I was not playing. So at some point, I found out how to install Windows on iMac. I did that. And I think it was around Battlefield 3 launch. And I installed a cracked copy of Battlefield 3. And I also found a way to play Battlefield 2. So I think it was Battlelog, if I remember correctly. It was a different community running the servers. So I played for, I don't know, for 4 or 5 years after that until I stopped. And I did not play again games until 2021, until I saw the trailer for Battlefield 2042. So I said, man, this trailer looks amazing. Like it reminds me with the scale of the maps and all of that action, it reminds me of Battlefield 2. And I need to play this game. So yeah, when the game launched, I went to a store, I bought a big TV, I bought the PS5, I came home, I installed, and I started playing. I did not even pay attention to all the bugs and glitches. Like I know people hate 2042, and I agree it had some issues, but man, I was kind of happy when I started playing it for the first time. So yeah, that's my short, long story about how I got into Battlefield.
Interesting that you played on a Mac and on a console, so you basically tried multiple facets of the franchise.
Yeah.
But yeah, moving on, Domenico, what is your story?
Yep, hello, this is Domenico. You might know me from some videos, I guess. I'm trying to give something for the small community of Battlefield players that we are by posting some occasional videos from a Battlefield 2 event or anything like that, some gameplay videos. And regarding how I got into the game, in a couple of months it will be 20 years. It's hard to believe it, but it will be 20 years since I registered my account. The way it started, basically there was a family meeting and I overheard my cousin, I don't think he was talking to me, he was talking to somebody else, but I overheard him talking about the new game, the Battlefield 2. And the way he described it, it sounded awesome to me. I decided to check it out immediately as soon as I have a chance. So the next working day, I think I went to a store because back then there was something like video games stores. So I went there, got the DVD box, I looked at the back of it, checked out the screenshots, the descriptions of what the game actually is. And yeah, I thought I need to have it. I had no idea if my PC was going to actually be able to run the game because it was a resource-intensive game back in the day. But I decided I need to try it, and the worst case scenario, I'll have the awesome game and I'll worry about upgrading my PC later. But well, luckily it turned out that I can run the game, barely, but still. And well, what can I say? I got hooked immediately. I thought it was a brilliant game. I love the idea of not being like the one-man army, but to be just a small soldier on a literal battlefield and just trying to make at least a single kill before I inevitably died. I thought that was awesome, and it still really is to me. I can't really explain why or how, but I just love the game. I don't even consider myself to be a fan of the Battlefield franchise as such. I just love Battlefield 2. I tried other Battlefield games, and they are fine for me, but there's only one Battlefield for me, and that's Battlefield 2. So that's basically it.
I totally feel you there. I tried also the other Battlefield titles, but I always come back to Battlefield 2. It's my big love, basically, in the Battlefield franchise.
Right, yeah.
Then we also have another content creator, Gravity.
Yep, that's right. I'm Gravity. I'm a Twitch streamer and YouTuber. Done that for about, 7, 8 years now. I started with Battlefield 1942 back in 2002. Played that, and then played Vietnam. And then when I played the BF2 demo, so that's how I got into it. It's just one after another. I was playing competitive 8v8 and 10v10 for a competitive team back in 1942, and they just swiftly transitioned to Battlefield 2, so I played that competitively for almost a year, 2, 3, 4 maybe years, and then 2142 as well. So Battlefield 2 was it was kind of a defining moment for the series. It just upgraded so much from the previous games. The implementation of the squad system and the commander mode, it really brought the whole tactical Battlefield sandbox together. Just very unique in its day and age. I don't play too much of it nowadays. I play a lot of the more modern titles, but every once in a while I'll still go back and play Battlefield 2 just to get used to the mechanics and features and look at the maps, because there's a lot of great things that even the modern games miss out on nowadays.
That's so true. Many of the modern titles just lack some of the core features, and it's also amazing how many of those basic core features from the entire Battlefield franchise started here. It's unbelievable what they achieved in this game.
Totally agree.
Yeah, but we still have one more guest.
Hello everyone, my name is Phil, and I'm the developer of the Heat of Battle mod for Battlefield 2. And I'm probably coming into this with a somewhat different perspective because I personally never really had a lot of multiplayer gaming experience. That just wasn't how I grew up around games. And so I never really got into Battlefield from that angle. I got into Battlefield 2 around 2012, which was already after Battlefield 3 released. And so I never really played online the vanilla experience, and for me the big appeal of it was just being able to open up the game and dive into all of the parts, that how it worked, and be able to change each and everything that I wanted. So for me, it was a different kind of sandbox of being able to change the weapons, sounds, the damage, the game design as I saw fit. Very much a lot more like Skyrim modding, being able to just tailor the game exactly to my experience and play with bots, and also make the bots change the AI of the bots and make them behave the way I wanted, and be able to really fine-tune every single detail. It's just, there aren't a lot of other games that have that same degree of complete modding freedom, of changing every single aspect, as opposed to just like changing some skins or a few things here and there. I learned so much about game design, game development through being able to just explore and see, hey, what's this thing that I can play with, and what's this thing that someone else made, and how can I learn how they did it, and how can I tweak it to see if I like it, and incorporate it into all the other things that I've changed. So for me, yeah, Battlefield 2 was and still is a one-of-a-kind experience in that regard.
Yeah, I can actually agree with him there. It was similar for me because I'm also a modder, right? And I always loved, even as a child, games that you could customize, or where you could make custom content for, that you could then, share with your friends, play with your friends. It started with stuff like Age of Empires 2, Warcraft 3, which had fairly easy to use, some would say child-friendly map editors, and I always loved doing that, and I kind of in the end landed at Battlefield 2 making a mod for that, or working in a team on a mod for that. And yeah, it's a great feeling to be able to kind of do the fun parts of developing a game or a level, and it's a nice hobby.
This is definitely something I also so love in the Battlefield 2 game engine, that you can play as you want. You can have bot battles, you can have co-op matches, you can have just standard vanilla multiplayer matches, or have mods. You can go in every direction, and you don't have a crappy browser as your main menu. I hated that in Battlefield 3.
Yeah, and also you had to have like a browser extension for that to actually work, as far as I remember. But that was awful.
Yeah, exactly. It was so interesting during a LAN party testing this, and one had a antivirus program which didn't allow him to install the plugin.
I think it's also a large factor why we can play Battlefield 2 today, is because after the main server was shut down, the master server, then it was pretty easy for people who actually have some knowledge about the IT stuff to circumvent these IP addresses and make the game work again. Because otherwise, if Battlefield 2 was locked as much as, say, Battlefield 3 is, then I don't know if you could be here today and discussing our recent Battlefield 2 games, because you might not be able to play the game at all. I don't know.
Absolutely.
I don't remember all the details, but I seem to recall that it was, at least from our perspective, the Project Reality mod guys, which is a different mod. They first reverse engineered the server infrastructure when the GameSpy thing went down. And for a while, for example, FH2 ran on their infrastructure because of that. Although today we have our own server backend for our players. But yeah, this is actually quite topical, because recently on the internet there was a big hubbub about the whole, what's it called, by the Half-Life guy. Stop killing games, right? And I mean, this is exactly that kind of use case for that we as various communities have our own server backends now that we reverse engineered, and that we used to now run the game. If we didn't do that, the game would basically be gone, and it is a legal kind of gray zone what we're doing there. Yeah, it would be nice if that could be clarified at some point.
Yes, do you maybe know, did the Revive project and then later the BF2 hub use the same technology, the same updates as you guys did?
I'm not sure. I know that here's the thing, right? I'm a mapper. I don't do the server infrastructure. I own the server, or some of them at least, but I don't know how that works. I let other people deal with that. That said, I really remember that it was PR first, and they had reverse engineered it. That's what I know. Now, I do know that we modified our own infrastructure quite heavily. So at this point, as always with this kind of technology, it branches out to a degree, evolution. But I don't know the specifics here. It's just not my area.
Maybe anyone else had some connections to those two communities?
I mean, the Revive project, wasn't that cancelled after some kind of cease and desist thing, or was it a different...
Exactly. In 2017, EA basically killed it. My information more or less was they were shut down when they basically redistributed Battlefield 2 and Battlefield 2142. There, EA said, hey, that's a little bit too much. You have to step down now.
And I also think they used trademarked symbols on their web presence, so it looked like it was an official thing almost, which is technically stupid, because obviously, I mean, if you have a company dealing in digital goods, trademarks are their bread and butter. Without them, they can't make money, because they need to create this artificial scarcity, right? So if you come at them from that angle, that's when the lawyers get active, right? If you do, for example, like FH2 or Project Reality, we also distribute parts of Battlefield 2, even though the games are now, or the mods are now standalone. But so far, we haven't heard from any lawyers because we don't use their official symbols. We don't make a big deal out of it. Now, it might be that in the future, maybe they will do like a cash grab thing where it's like Battlefield 2 definitive, reworked, remade version or whatever, and they want to sell that, and then suddenly the lawyers get active, But okay, we will deal with that when it happens.
Yeah,
personally,
but
I wouldn't
wasn't
say about EA killing Battlefield 2 Revive projects. I don't really agree with it because, I mean, when they shut down the project, the owner, I guess, of the entire project posted this cease and desist letter. But as far as I remember, the letter didn't specifically demand the Revive project to shut down, but rather to stop using a copyrighted trademark material. I think if they made it clear on the website that the Revive project is not affiliated with EA or DICE or whatever in any way, they wouldn't use, say, official Battlefield 2 logo, with the big 2 number. And perhaps, I don't remember anymore if they actually made you available to download the game or just the infrastructure, just the mod to be able to play. But I think they had an opportunity to keep going. But in my opinion, they just used the cease and desist letter as a kind of scapegoat to just cancel the entire project, because I think they had an opportunity to keep going, but just decided against it. That's my opinion.
But didn't Revive project, weren't they related with Battle Log? Because I remember when I was playing on the Mac, I mean using Windows, I was playing through Battle Log website. I needed to use the account there. So I remember it was, I don't know, maybe around 2013, 14 or something like that. Or actually
they
maybe
used a URL, battlelog.co, not com, but
yeah, that's co, exactly.
That was the URL, yeah.
So they were related with Revive project? Or you don't remember?
I don't remember. I mean, battlelog.co definitely linked to Revive project. Was it because the Revive owner bought that domain or somebody else did? And
okay. So maybe they were somehow related. Because I remember also reading some articles when they got also a letter, cease and desist from EA, and they said, you need to take down these, I don't know, servers or whatever they said in that letter.
Was the entire letter from the lawyers. They did that.
Yeah.
Did you guys have any home server or clan back in the days? Doesn't matter, before GameSpy, after it?
Not me.
Yeah, me neither.
Sadly, I only played it on one big LAN party. It was an amazing experience to have a full server in the same room.
64?
64 players, yeah. It was a 200 player LAN party, so it was basically nearly 2 full servers.
Wow.
And it's totally different if you kill a guy who is sitting just a few rows behind you and he's cursing and you can hear it.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty awesome.
I have always said that, this whole online gaming is, of course, technically an improvement, but there's one ability missing from it, which is to chuck like a 1.5 liter cola bottle at some camper who just killed you.
Yep. I agree. I remember cases like that when I was playing at the internet cafes. Yeah.
And definitely, that's also a big plus for me. Battlefield 2 has at least a LAN mode, so we can always use either direct IP or a VPN to play it. So it definitely will never die.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I could experience the LAN party of Battlefield 2. That sounds awesome, but never did experience. Maybe in 10 years somebody will organize some big event.
Why not? I was thinking actually, like, man, I know it's a stupid idea. Like, I know no one will do this at EA, but I was thinking like last year, because last year I was thinking, man, next year it's gonna be Battlefield 2's 20th anniversary. So what if, like, I know for some reason somehow EA kind of ignores, or they ignores Battlefield 2, like in a lot of, you can see it like in how they do their marketing or whatever communication. But I was thinking, man, what if next year they are gonna reveal the next game, yeah? But it's gonna be Battlefield 2 20th anniversary, so what if they get this idea, or I don't know, at Gamescom they'll probably do some things there with about Battlefield. So what if they, I don't know, do like a LAN party, you know, with people, allow them to play the old experience, like, because I was thinking, what if the next game is gonna be something similar, because I was reading these rumors about the next game is gonna be more like Modern Warfare, but not too futuristic, you know. So what if they get some inspiration from Battlefield 2 or whatever? So it would have been nice, I was thinking about this, to make, like, for DICE or EA to make a LAN party at Gamescom so people can play this old Battlefield 2 experience. But yeah, it's just, you know, daydreaming.
They could definitely make a crash cap there. Not only make a LAN party, but also host panels, basically, where some of the original devs stop by, tell some stories, maybe host a tournament. That would definitely be nice.
I mean, we've just had 20th anniversary and EA didn't do anything about it, really. I mean, we all probably were hoping for something to be done, yeah, but there was just nothing. Not even free-to-play mode or anything announced, nothing.
Yeah, they made on Twitter a post and they kind of reworked a bit the Battlefield 2 cover. Instead of Battlefield 2, it said Battlefield 20, like anniversary. So, I mean, it was at least something. But yeah, I don't know why they... Because I remember, I think I was watching a video about Battlefield 2 or the Battlefield franchise as a whole. And I'm not sure if it was about Battlefield Play for Free, because it was also based on Battlefield 2, or it was about Battlefield 2, but that guy mentioned that EA doesn't own entirely the rights for... and I'm not sure if it was Battlefield 2 or Battlefield Play for Free, because I think it was a Chinese company also involved. So I was thinking maybe they kind of ignore Battlefield 2 because they don't own it entirely, I mean the copyrights for the game, so yeah, I don't know.
I have my theory about this. I think that they are sort of avoiding Battlefield 2 because they pulled Battlefield 2 from online stores like Origin or whatever the current name is, and Steam. And I think the reason why they pulled Battlefield 2 is because the official master server is not working. So I guess, legally speaking, you can't really sell a game that is based on multiplayer while the multiplayer part isn't actually working without installing some third-party mods that who knows who made those and if they're safe at all. I mean, we know that Battlefield 2 Hub is safe, but legally speaking, it's a gray area if you're selling a multiplayer game where multiplayer doesn't work and it requires you some third-party tools that you as EA cannot vouch for. So I think that's the reason.
Yeah, but at least you acknowledge the existence of Battlefield 2 when you, at least for these anniversaries, like, it's 20 years, it's something, you know. But yeah, I don't know. Like, and at the same time, yeah, you mentioned that they don't have servers, and maybe this is one of the reasons. But at the same time, Battlefield 2, like, I mean, all the refractor games, like, they are, even though the servers are shut down, you can play it anytime offline locally with bots. Like, if it's gonna be the same experience as it was intended to play it, you know. Because I was also thinking, like, man, yeah, like, these games are good. I liked Battlefield 3, I like Battlefield 1 and other games, but these games, when they shut down the servers, you'll never be able to experience the game how it was intended to be played, because they made this game to be played online, you know, with online servers. Yeah, maybe people will do something similar like with Battlefield 2 Hub, like to try to revive the servers, but to be honest, with no hate towards Battlefield 3 and 4, I don't think they will be as popular as Battlefield 2. Like, I know there are people working on Battlefield 4 Warsaw, but I don't know, I don't see a lot of people being interested about that one, you know. Like, I mean, yeah, they know people work on that, but we'll see how they do it and how it will work in the future when the official servers go down.
I definitely want to go in that discussion back, but Gravity sadly has to go, and I have one question for him. I saw on his channel some tournaments, some event videos. Maybe he can share a little bit about his past experience there. Did you also play on a league?
Yes. So Battlefield 2 had a massive competitive scene. It built off of the competitive scene from 1942 in Vietnam going into it. There was a Battlefield 2 World Tournament that was sponsored by DICE back in 2006. I took part in that. There were hundreds of competitive teams back in the day that were playing concurrently. There was things like TWL, Cal, and a bunch of other leagues all over the world. Yeah, so I played in high-level competitive 8v8s, 10v10s, 12v12s, 5v5s for a long time. Those were the days where, you know, you kind of, streaming was just kind of getting started. I mean, YouTube just came out in 2005, so that's how far back we're talking. But that's kind of when shoutcasting and broadcasting competitive games was just getting started. So competitive Battlefield really took off then. I played competitive BF2 until about 2008, and then I took a break. And then it was only in 2019 or 2020 around COVID that I had a community reach out to me saying that they were going to do a 32v32, would I like to cast the game for them. So I did that. I think it was the Lost Soldiers, that the community that still plays BF2. They had organized 32 versus 32, and I casted that match for them. And then I had learned that there was still a handful of competitive 8v8 teams still going, that they've been playing for the past 15, 20 years, even after the shutdown. And they asked me to do competitive. I played for a team for a season. I've been playing scrims and pickup games with them, and I still cast their 8v8 games every now and then. Their leagues have kind of whittled away the past 2 years, but yeah, they're still going. It's kind of crazy to see that Battlefield, the Refractor games, 1942 and BF2 still have the most amount of competitive community going on for any Battlefield games right now.
And it's sad that, at least it makes the impression for me, that it's the only game which is really organizing stuff in the sense of websites, tournaments, leagues. The present is a little bit better. That's the only thing.
I don't think that's not necessarily the case. I think there's a legacy aspect to that. I've seen a lot of Battlefield 2 communities that are still like on PHP Nuke, you know, ancient websites and stuff that just haven't updated in 20 years. I think a lot of the things is modern communities are all mostly Discord run instead of website run. So I think you have a lot of old school aspects to the Battlefield 2 community compared to the modern games. I think the lack of, over the history of the series, each game has subsequently kind of lost pieces and parts and features that allow the competitive community to thrive and grow. And I think maybe we're going to see a turnaround with that with Battlefield 6, but it's just not having those features kind of brings that whole scene to a halt, especially once you hit Battlefield 1 and 5. Battlefield 2's, you know, the battle recorder, that was amazing and allowed for that. Free cam is not and spectator mode, those were not exclusive to Battlefield 2. Those were absolutely things that were in 1942. I just think the community was so big at the time that it kind of propelled Battlefield 2 to have such a ingrained competitive scene that kind of lasted over the years. I think calling them a thriving competitive community doesn't really do it justice. I mean, it is literally a handful of people nowadays. We have to remember that the game is 20 years old, but I don't think that it has its own legacy for sure.
Definitely, don't get me wrong there. I don't mean that the Battlefield 2 community is much bigger and has more players. No, what I mean is that the presence online is bigger in the sense of, hey, we can find it on the internet. There are websites. Discord is always gated. You have a clan, for example, on Discord. If you don't know even the name, you can't find it. You can't even find it via Google search. So it's hard. I like that you can find so much stuff about Battlefield 2 and its community.
I don't think that's exclusive to Battlefield 2. I think Battlefield 3 and 4 has that same amount of, website-driven communities. The problem is when we're looking at it through the lens of Battlefield 2, there's a handful of communities, and yes, maybe they all have websites that you can go and get information from, but you can just as easily do that from a bunch of BF4 servers as well. I think the lack of communities in modern Battlefield games is a major weakness, and I think that's kind of the driving factor between why you see website-driven communities versus Discord-driven communities, or lack thereof in the modern games.
Yeah, one thing I also want to mention in terms of competitive play is that I'm not directly involved with that, but the CMP guys, CMP tournament, they run on Forgotten Hope 2, and they have like 2 or 3 campaigns every year where they play several battles with 100 players per server, and this is also one of these examples of communities that kind of sprang around Battlefield that are now, due to modding, maybe a bit more removed. But I would also agree with him here that I don't think the modern games lend themselves to that, because you don't control the servers as a player to the same degree, and I don't think they actually want that, because it is something that they can't really control or monetize, and it's something that doesn't make them any money, basically.
I'm going to just jump in here before I have to leave here and say that that's partially true, and that was definitely true with Battlefield 1 and 5. I will say that it's not necessarily about server control, that's definitely a community thing, but as far as the competitive scene goes, it's literally building a competitive scene. It comes down to a handful of features, and you don't need to invest in, marketing or anything to make that happen. It's a matter of can you host your own server? Can it be passworded? Do you have a spectator mode? Do you have map sizes adequate for competitive play that are not massive 64-player size maps? And the more recent games haven't had that. It seems like with 2042's Portal that you have some of that customization, and with Battlefield 6, I don't know if any of you guys have looked into that, and you've said that you've do a lot of modding, but this Portal from Battlefield 6 really looks like it could be that type of modding framework or extreme levels of customization that we want, and probably will be the best that we've had in years. So maybe we can have that kind of level of customization and the right features available to this time around to make those communities thrive again.
Yeah, hopefully.
But yeah, we don't want to keep you from your meeting. So thanks for joining us. Maybe in the future we can do another session.
Yeah, I'd love to stay and talk about all this, but because you guys are bringing up such good points, I especially like to talk about more Forgotten Hope, because that was a mod that was dear to my heart, especially in 1942. So, all right.
Well, I guess Forgotten Hope also will have an anniversary at some point, so we can do this again.
Definitely, yeah.
Well, we have the 18-year anniversary for the Forgotten Hope 2 mod, yeah. That's, I think, this year.
Unbelievable, 18 years.
All right, thank you again. Have a good one.
Yeah, thanks for joining, Gravity.
Yeah.
UTS mentioned something. The EA servers back in Battlefield 2 costed a lot of money. They made a shit ton of money for renting out the ranked servers.
Actually, I don't know anything about that. We have our own server, so I don't know.
If you don't have a ranked server from EA, it wasn't also expensive back then. But if you want to be in the rank bubble,
You mean okay? Yeah, as I said, that's I was never that much into Battlefield 2. I played that mostly. I played it like only single player first on some kind of cracked copy, and then later I bought it and I played like 5 or 10 hours multiplayer or something before I didn't like it that much. Battlefield 2 vanilla, I mean.
yeah, me too. I also preferred all the different mods, but I always come back also to the vanilla experience to compare a little bit. It's not the baddest multiplayer experience for me on the planet, no, definitely not. But especially the gunplay feels a little bit off in the original game. What do you think, guys?
Well, I love the gunplay. I mean, it's definitely different than pretty much anything else. The weapons do very little damage and are pretty inaccurate compared to pretty much any other out there FPS that there is. But I mean, after 20 years, this is just what I know, and everything else just seems odd to me personally. But like objectively speaking, I can most definitely acknowledge that the gunplay is weird. Like a headshot from M16 doesn't kill you. Like, what's up with that? It sounds crazy to pretty much any other FPS player.
Especially if you play then Project Reality or Forgotten Hope 2, it's so different. It can feel totally different.
Yeah, but both Battlefield 2 modes, but even other FPS games like, I don't know, Counter-Strike or whatever, it's completely different gunplay in Battlefield 2. Not just within Battlefield franchise, but with the entire FPS genre.
Yeah, this is very interesting from a game design standpoint, because I think from like a teamwork and tactical and like overall balanced gameplay standpoint, I think having low accuracy does make a lot of sense for that. It allows people to move at long range and work together and not die so quickly. But from just like you are the player shooting the gun yourself, it really doesn't feel good. Like, we want our guns to be accurate, but we don't want the enemies to be accurate. And it's kind of a difficult balance to strike. But definitely something that I've played around a lot with in my own modding. Like, what kind of balance can I strike with this? How can I make guns still feel good while still allowing a good teamwork sort of experience where you can move?
I find it interesting that you mentioned PR there, because to me the Battlefield 2 vanilla gunplay, from what I remember and just know from how it works, it leaned into the whole deviation thing quite a bit, right?
Yeah.
So many people might not know this, but there's a difference between recoil, which is how basically your cursor moves after you shoot, right? And then there's deviation, which means that the gun gets more inaccurate as you shoot after a while. So the next shot will randomly land somewhere else. And they leaned into that part more than into the recoil for the gunplay in Battlefield 2. And I do agree that this has the effect of what Fail just described. And Project Reality, in my opinion, in many ways perfected this system. Forgotten Hope 2 works differently, but Project Reality perfected the system by really leaning into it and by really kind of bringing it to its logical conclusion, because they wanted to be this really big teamwork-oriented mod, and they also came to the conclusion that if you are a Rambo, basically, if you can by pure skill just shoot your way through every enemy John Wick style, if you can do that, then a lot of incentives for teamwork kind of drop away, right? And from that direction, I think it was probably a good call. That said, Project Reality probably perfected it, and with a lot of time and experience, they probably have the better solution now compared to vanilla Battlefield 2, I would say.
Yeah, this is something that, like, it really depends on the context and the player, like what kind of experience you want for the players. So I remember Squad, the Project Reality successor on Unreal Engine, they also had a big sort of controversy of introducing a more Project Reality, it's like inaccuracy into their weapons. And some people really liked it, and some people really hated it. Even right now in the Battlefield 6 beta, there's a very similar discussion going on where more traditional Battlefield fans understands how the deviation works and they're used to it, whereas people coming in from, say, Call of Duty are very confused, like why are the guns so inaccurate, why aren't they hitting? And yeah, I think it is a very difficult trade-off because someone is always going to be unhappy.
Yeah, the problem with deviation is feedback to the player when he's under the effect of it, because that was a big problem when Forgotten Hope 2.0, when the very first version was released 18 years ago now. There was a big problem, like in Battlefield 1942, you didn't have iron sights, and so you shot just with the crosshair. But you could zoom in, but you'd still have the crosshair on the screen. And when you moved, the crosshair got automatically wider, and you knew I can't hit as well. And so, especially in Forgotten Hope 1 back then for Battlefield 1942, that almost turned into this mini game that you could really get good at, where it's like you had to wait in the right rhythm for your crosshair to close and then shoot, and you knew the shot would hit, or you could take a more risky shot. So when FH2 first came out, they still had the same system because that's what they were used to. But now they had iron sights, and the iron sights do not close in any way. It doesn't give you any indication how accurate you are, any feedback of why your shot missed. So tons of people were like, hey, I aim directly at this guy with my rifle and I shoot, and he doesn't die. The shot goes somewhere else, or I can't even see where it lands because maybe the iron sight model is in the way or whatever. And that's a big problem. You have to communicate somehow to the players, now you are inaccurate.
Yeah.
I think the gunplay in Battlefield 2 multiplayer simply teaches you to be cold-blooded and patient, because you can't really spray and pray, as they say, and hope for the best, because that's never going to work, really. So you just need to keep your head level and just, fire short bursts rather than go full auto all the time, because that's almost never going to work. And not everyone is a fan of such a system. I can agree to that. I can see why, but for me, it's just natural at this point.
Yeah, especially when people have something to compare it with, like with different games or something. But it's funny because I was saying I think I stopped playing Battlefield 2 around, I don't know, maybe 2014. I think it was before they shut down the official, or no, actually no, it was after, because I was playing with Battlelog, so the official servers were shut down. So I don't know, maybe it was 2016 or something when I stopped playing Battlefield 2. But this year, before New Year, I was thinking, man, like next year it's Battlefield 2 Anniversary, so I want to play that game again, So I bought myself a gaming laptop, and I ordered a physical copy. I found a sealed one of Battlefield 2. And I installed the game and I started playing, and man, like. I'll be honest, as much as I love Battlefield 2, like I don't remember it like this, because of this gunplay. Nowadays, it's mostly veterans, like who played this game, I guess, daily since it was launched, and they know every corner and every trick and whatever. Because when I was playing around 2011, 2016, I had a lot of fun. So I was flying with jets, although I was actually avoiding helis because I was always kind of afraid. I knew I am not good with them, but I was playing a lot of infantry and sometimes with jets. When this year I started playing again, man, I was like, I don't remember the game being like this. Like, it's so punishing for me, like after not playing it for so long, because of the gunplay, I'm not used to it. And there were some things, like after you play other games, like modern games, and you have something to compare it with, and you go back to Battlefield 2, like, man, there are some clunky things. It's hard to get used to it. You need to play more to get some to practice. But it's definitely different.
Not only I think it's clunky, but it also really emphasizes the team play.
Yeah.
If I'm a lone wolf in Battlefield 2, I die left and right. If I have a squad of 6 players, and we work together, we communicate, it's night and day, the difference. It's so amazing, especially if you go also then into Forgotten Hope 2 and Project Reality. It's so immersive. This is what I really miss in the other Battlefield games. You are, in the modern titles, always a lone wolf. There's no real incentive to play together. And here, you're not even really rewarded by the games in the sense of points. You just play together as a team because it's fun. It's better that way.
Yep. Yeah, but I mean clunky, yeah, not in a bad way, you know, like it's clunky because you are used with modern games with different mechanics, and it's hard to get back to a game you didn't play in a long time, and you need kind of to relearn some things, like, because I kind of hate about, like, I know it's a 20 years old game, but what I hate, they didn't have this option in the game, in the settings, like an option to switch between toggle or hold while aiming down sights, because you always need to toggle this option to right click the mouse every time you want to zoom in or not. And this is after you are used to always holding the mouse button, and you go back to Battlefield when you always have to click it. Like, it's kind of, I mean, it's not something game breaking or anything, but it's like a bit of frustrating thing, you know. Or strafing, for example, you can't strafe in Battlefield 2, so it's also like you are used in the newer games to strafe right left, but there you can't strafe, you know. You're like, wow, is this a bug or something? But yeah.
It's definitely those little things. I always wondered, why didn't they a little bit optimize the config files of the game? Especially, you all guys know it. The enemy. It's so annoying. Why didn't they give us an option to shut that off? Shut this off. It's unbelievable.
Man, to be honest, actually, I like that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, because I'm not that guy who...
I don't mind either, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not that guy who is always focused on hearing footsteps or anything, because, yeah, I was thinking, man, like, if DICE would beat release a game like Battlefield 2 nowadays, or a remaster or anything, with all those features and everything, how the game works, like with all that spam, enemy spotted and all of that, man, people will hate it so much. I know it, like, because they will say, man, I want to hear the footsteps. Why do you tell me always enemy spotted? Like, all this spam, you know? But for me, this was part of Battlefield 2's identity. Like, man, it's something, yeah, I don't know, for me it was not game breaking, or I didn't care about footsteps. I was going there to have fun, you know, like I see the enemy or whatever. But it was this small thing that made Battlefield 2, you know, this spam, like.
Absolutely, I love it if it's from the team, but if it's the commander who is using his mouse like a machine gun and you just hear it in one stream, that I don't like. But in general, the immersive factor is amazing. I'm totally with you there.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least the commander is doing his job, so you should, like, as they say, don't hate the player, hate the game. So it's not commander's fault that it's working.
But like in real life, I would like to shut off my boss, so I don't hear him.
Yeah,
I mean, this could be
Yeah,
easily fixed. I mean, one thing that we haven't discussed, and I think pretty much everyone has forgotten about it at this point, is that when Battlefield 2 Revive launched, there was a trailer, I think, for it, like an official video to start the set off the revived project, and it was called a revived project, not without an accident, because they announced that they were going to make another patch for Battlefield 2, the game, and I don't remember many details of it. I think they were planning to, like, merge the Battlefield 2 Special Forces expansion into the vanilla game. Oh, yeah. So we could, like, switch between the maps from the expansion pack and vanilla on the fly without changing the modes. And they promised all their fixes for the game, like resizing the UI for 16:9 resolutions or higher. There was supposed to be a patch that would fix a lot of issues that we have today. But the Revive project died, and so the ideas for the patch with it. And, like, technically speaking, we could gather some people who know how to mod the game, make a patch that fixes everything, and then the only issue we would have was to agree to also that all of us could install the patch that somebody else created. But we need to coordinate between us players and server owners that we would use the exact same patch everywhere. But there's never been such an incentive ever since then. So we are stuck on 1.5, I think, or 1.51 version, which has a lot of issues because it's been way over 10 years since the latest version.
Yeah, I think that's where the difficulty is going to be, because there are mods that do fix all of those things, as you said. The problem is they all make some slightly different changes, and you can never agree that, oh, we're all gonna just agree to use this change and not that change. But
Well, I think the only thing realistically that could make it work is that for the person who owns Battlefield 2 Hub to announce that, let's say, from this day onward, all servers need to have this patch installed, and all players need to have this patch, and force players to install it and play on it, basically. Because otherwise, that's not going to work if we are all playing a different version.
Where the Battlefield 2 hub could basically dictate that, so it wouldn't be impossible and that hard.
Well, I don't know. That usually leads to a lot of chaos. I mean, for Forgotten Hope 2, we have the advantage. We control both the server backend and we actually control the game. So we have scaled up, menus and not menus, scaled up HUD. We have leaning. We have. I think we have the toggle iron sight stuff, or maybe we're planning to do that. I don't remember actually. I don't use that, but so we just can force everybody to use it because we just put the patch out through the launcher and then we use it. But if the servers are in many different hands and the back end, is in different hands, then this can lead to a lot of trouble.
Well, the Battlefield 2 hub also basically dictates at the moment what version you should have to connect to the whole network. So they could just release a client side.
Ah, okay.
Even the server browser, on Battlefield Hub, it says which version the server runs on. So there is some code to display which patch version is running on a particular server. But all they need is to force the patch.
You already talked about many different features in Battlefield 2. What would you guys say is one feature which really is important for you, which you maybe even missed in other Battlefield games or a map?
It's gonna be the same, I guess, for everyone. for me, it's the commander mode. So I hear, and I don't mean hate or anything towards the current player base of Battlefield franchise, because it's whatever. Like, they didn't experience Battlefield 2, but I see a lot of players. Oh man, we won the commander mode from Battlefield 4 back. Like, it was so good and so fun, and I'm like, guys, I'm so sorry for you, but you didn't experience the commander mode from Battlefield 2. Like, man, I don't know. Maybe it was also the guys from Desert Combat, or I don't know who came up with that idea. But man, the commander mode was. Even though I didn't actually get the chance to play it so often, because I found about it and how to apply for it very late. I think it was around 2000. I mean, after I started playing on my PC at home, because at the internet cafes, I saw someone doing it at one point, and I was like, wow, they can use artillery and all of that. But I never tried to understand how to do it, or I don't know why. I never got the chance to try it then. But later, after I found out, and because when I started playing multiplayer, like online through Battlelog, I was very low level because I had a new account. And even though I was trying to apply, it was always the high rank players, because this is how the game was made, to give the commander the highest rank player. So I don't know if I used it too many times, but man, I loved it. What you could do in that game, and also the zoom in through the satellite, like, man, I don't know. Those guys, the developers, made a great job in the developing. So yeah, that's for me, the commander mode.
Well, for me, compared to newer Battlefield games, I think the simple thing I would like to have is 6-player squads, with squad leader being the only one on whom you could spawn on. Because that sounds very simple, but I think that was pretty much a game changer for Battlefield 2. And speaking more broadly, I would just like to feel like I'm playing for the team, I'm playing for the victory, and not just for my personal score. Because whenever I played, say, Bad Company 2 or Battlefield 3 multiplayer, I never really felt like I was playing for victory or for my team. I was just playing to get good kill death ratio and just to kill as many guys as I could, and whatever happened, the broader picture, who was winning, who was losing, who had more tickets, that didn't even seem very important to me, because I could never experience those newer Battlefield games in a way that I was just a small cog in a machine and I was just working for my team to just add something to the victory, because that's always how it feels in Battlefield 2 for me. I always prioritize team victory over my personal result, and somehow I could never feel that in the newer Battlefield games.
Yeah. At that point, probably also I agree, like Battlefield Bad Company kind of started that, or I don't know, it was maybe the new generation of gamers. But yeah, even with the new games, I would say that players compete with their teammates instead of competing with the enemy team. Like they compete like whoever can get the highest, I don't know, kill streak or KD or whatever. So yeah, that's kind of sad. I also always play for, I don't know, I sometimes do goofy stuff or just go have fun, or yeah, maybe sometimes I'm in the mood to go get some kills or something. Not always.
I mean, even if you compare like squad system between Battlefield 2 and Battlefield Bad Company 2, which are relatively close to themselves in terms of years they were launched on, then if I were to join a Battlefield Bad Company 2 game and I want to join a squad, it doesn't really matter which squad it is. I just pick whichever squad has an empty slot, and if there is a player in the squad who is in a good spot on the map for me to spawn on, then so much the better. But in Battlefield 2, for a start, there's 6 players in a squad. You can name your squad, so you give players idea what you're going to expect from them. You can give orders. You can open up the map as the squad leader and select any particular order, any particular control point to attack or defend. Even if in Battlefield 2 you don't really get any points for issuing orders or following orders like in the newer games, it was a much more sophisticated system in a good way. Compared to, like, say, Battlefield 3, where you, as a squad leader, you just point your crosshair at, like, say, point Alpha or point A. You press one button and it switches to attack order for your squad mates. That just doesn't work for me.
Yeah, probably it was how many people say it was when they started with Frostbite Battlefield titles. They tried to make the game more accessible to consoles, because I couldn't imagine how they could do all that on console on a controller. I mean, maybe it would have been possible, but probably it would have taken more time to implement all those features. So yeah, we will never know, I guess.
I mean, I'm obviously biased because my standout feature of Battlefield 2 is just how much they exposed to the modders and being able to tweak every single aspect of the game, not just like some skins or some maps, but just absolutely everything. There still aren't a lot of other, even like modding platform type of games that have that same degree of freedom, especially in the first-person shooter genre. I mean, in regards to the game design itself, I think if you want to recapture that same experience of teamwork in the modern day, I think it actually would probably require a different design. Like just throwing out the same game and with the current population, just like the current gaming culture, it won't have the same results. I think recreating that experience would require some very intentional design decisions.
Yeah, one thing I also want to mention that isn't like a feature that I'm missing, but a feature that is in the newer games that I don't like. I'm not actually a huge fan of customization, especially like player model customization. And I know they will never get rid of it because that's how they get their money these days, right? But to me, the philosophy of a Battlefield game was always that you were, as some have mentioned already, right, that you were this kind of random schmuck. You were the private nobody who is thrown into battle. In fact, I always thought that whenever you die and respawn, you come back as the next soldier who gets fed into the meat grinder. You know, that's always how I felt about it. And this customization where you have these unique costumes or whatever kind of goes completely against that feeling. But, you know, at the end of the day, you know, as I said, that's how they earn their money. It's not really a gameplay issue, but to me that shows kind of a change in philosophy. You know, in FH2 we say, okay, so you are a soldier, here's your mass-produced rifle, the same that everybody gets, now get shot, and this is just not what they want from their games anymore, and I can kind of understand it, but it's kind of sad.
There's also one more thing about weapons being tied to a specific nation or a specific army, because I can't speak for every Frostbite Battlefield game. I don't know if it happens in all of them, but how dumb is it that you have the exact same weapon no matter if you fight as an American or Russian or Chinese player? This is just weird for me, especially after playing Battlefield 2 for so many years. When you spawn, you have a selection of, say, AKs, all different AKs and RPG, then you have an army, sort of Russian-based army or Arab army, something like that. You would never spawn as an American with an AK, and it's possible in at least some of the newer Battlefield games. I never understood that. It just kills immersion for me.
Which is funny because Battlefield 2 is actually one of the first games to introduce a weapon unlock for all of the factions.
I mean, yeah, you have unlocks, of course, that you can use in between all of the nations, but at least the basic weapons are tied to the specific army.
Yeah, I also like this. And I was thinking, man, for example, they had this problem. I mean, players were kind of complaining, in Battlefield 4, they had so many weapons, and at some point they were just making carbines, and they had these kind of open weapons that every class could pick them. And I was thinking, man, because players were complaining about that in that system in Battlefield 4, because at some point when they were adding new weapons to the game, like these carbines and DMRs, people were complaining that it's kind of the same weapon, it looks different, and the damage model, it's more or less it's the same,
I mean, in Battlefield 2 you don't even have that many weapons, but if you have, in Battlefield 3 or 4, I'm making this up, but let's say you have 10 rifles for a medic in Battlefield 3 or whatever, then either all of those 10 rifles are exactly the same, just there's a difference of the looks, or you try to vary their stats, but if you do that, then eventually people will figure out the one single best rifle for your everyday playing, so to speak, and everyone's going to end up with just this one single rifle eventually. So what's the point of adding the 9 other rifles?
This is what I wanted to say, because people were complaining about that. It's the biggest difference is that with the new weapons that were added to Battlefield 4 it was only the damage model and the visual aspect of the weapon. And I was thinking, man, with that system with the faction locked weapons in Battlefield 2, DICE could have kept this system, and it would have been so much better for the players, at least in my opinion, because me as a player, I would have been more interested to play, for example, if I knew that faction has these weapons that I could not pick as, for example, let's say I play as US and there's the China faction. So me playing as US and me maybe wanting to play with the Chinese weapons, I would be more interested to play more matches where I could play as the other side, as the Chinese faction. But with all these weapons, as you mentioned, that they are shared across all factions, there's no really some interest, to switch or to play as a different faction. It doesn't really matter for the nowadays players. Yeah, you whatever, you play whatever faction, you go there, you get some kills, and that's it. It doesn't really matter, So it's also not only about weapons, but also about vehicles. This is, as you said, it's one great feature as well in Battlefield 2.
Most of the time you only played to unlock an achievement or a medal or something, and then you go to the next item in the list.
Yeah. There's also of course a problem that Battlefield is still kind of semi-realistic, so there's only so much you can do with the different weapons. If you have an M4 and another assault rifle, how different are they realistically, really, without getting into weird fantasy territory? If you have something silly like Team Fortress 2, you can just say, okay, we're going to implement a fish launcher. It launches a fish in your face, and it's a different weapon, right? Can't really do that in Battlefield. And yeah, I agree totally there that this is something that you can actually improve or circumvent with faction locking. Like in FH2, we have hundreds, no, not hundreds, but we have tons of bolt-action rifles that are functionally the same. But you don't, on any given evening, you will probably not play with each one of them because they are locked to this or that faction time period and so on.
And you hide the different special weapons on the map, so it's a pickup and not a default that I like.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, didn't they actually didn't they actually get inspired by us and implemented that in Battlefield 1, I think? I think they did kind of do that.
It was 4 first, yeah, and 1 also. I mean, in 1 it was also like kind of like a special elite class. You could also, you were changing your class like a different soldier. But in Battlefield 4, it was the first time we tried this. And yeah, it was, you were still the same class, but you pick up, I forgot how it was called, a weapon, this elite weapon from the pickup weapon, I think it was called actually.
Yeah,
I think
they
they got that from Forgotten Up 2, just like what they have now, a breakthrough mode. That's basically our what we call sector push mode. It's identical. You have sectors with different flags, and once all flags are kept, the next sector is unlocked. We had that first in the 2.4 patch, I think. That's ages ago now, 12 years or something. And now it's in the new games.
So Battlefield 2 really hit the sweet spot, if you think about it, because we both had weapons that were tied to a specific army, but you also had some unlocks to unlock. So if you say, let's say you hated M16 because it wasn't full auto, then you had an opportunity to unlock L85 in Enfield for full auto on medic. So you had both of the worlds really. And there weren't many weapons, just 2 unlocks for each class. So it wasn't a case of like having 10 weapons which were basically the same, because they were most definitely not. Some of the unlocks were fairly different, like the shotgun for anti-tank, where every other weapon for anti-tank is a submachine gun. So you really felt that you were working for something, unlocking a new weapon. I think it was a fun, really experience to, like, say 20 years ago, you didn't have the unlocks, and you saw somebody with the unlocks, so you were following them, trying to grab their kit once they die, and just try the weapon out before you die yourself, just to see if this is the next weapon you should unlock, because there weren't that many ranks in Battlefield 2. On the higher ranks, it took a considerable amount of time and experience to rank up again. So if you chose a bad unlock for yourself, you were forced to play for like 7 or maybe a couple of dozen hours more before you could get another unlock. So it was a very important decision which weapon to unlock at the time. So I think it was a good system for me.
Yeah, and that's funny for me, because at that time when they probably designed this game, they made this decision to, like, they thought the ranking system and the unlocking system for the weapons, it was probably a game design decision, like idea, you know, like, because nowadays, like, game developers, they want players time, you know, so they think of ideas, how can they make, or what systems they can add so the player is always engaged with the game. They play as much as possible the game. And I'm thinking, man, like, in Battlefield, they started this in Battlefield 2042, maybe in Battlefield 5, with this battle pass and unlocking things, and, you know, they always feel useless for me, like those skins, charms, whatever. And it's funny for me because, man, you had this good system in Battlefield 2, but it required the player to play a lot of time to rank up, you know, and also to unlock weapons. They could easily implement this in the newer games, and players would probably play way more than they actually play nowadays for unlocking the Battle Pass, because I never paid attention to ranking up. I didn't, to be honest, I didn't even know about that system when I was playing, and I didn't pay attention. So when I found about it and I was reading about this system, and it was the last rank, it was the general, and I was reading like jokes about it, like that people were playing so much only to get the general rank, and they played their whole life and they never got it, you know, because they needed so much XP and so many hours to play the game. So yeah, it's funny because this system, even though it was not designed, maybe, I guess, to keep the player as much engaged with the game as possible, this could work nowadays. If these developers, they really want, or at least the publisher, EA, they really want players to play as much as possible the game, they could implement such a similar system, and it would probably work for them. And it would be also fun for the players.
To be honest, I kind of disagree with that. I think the Battlefield 2 ranking system is not essentially different than the new ones. It's just the very first version of that, and they hadn't figured out how to do what they wanted with it yet. It's just an earlier iteration. I think they originally had this idea, okay, how do we add this kind of progression that keeps players kind of hooked to our multiplayer game, and this was their first version of that. And what we see today, as stupid as maybe to us older people it might seem, I think the one that they have today is kind of the streamlined, keep people psychologically hooked version of that, the end result, or at least the newer result of that development. Am I a fan of that? No, but I think that's how the cookie crumbles, as they say.
It's just the most effective carrot they could have figured out.
Yeah, I mean, if I may, people's attention span is just very short nowadays. In the age of TikToks, YouTube Shorts, and whatever, people need to have these like ribbons on the screen all the time. And you've just won something, you've just been awarded the next rank. Mm-hmm. It's like newer Frostbite Battlefield games. You earn something like every second kill, it feels like. Whereas in Battlefield 2, it took considerably longer to achieve anything really, because I agree that on the basic level the Battlefield 2 ranking system is essentially the same as the newer Battlefields, but what's the difference is just the amount of time and that you need to spend on the game to actually unlock something or get a new reward. Like even with the ribbons, in Battlefield 2 you earn a ribbon once and that's it. If you earn a ribbon, then you have that one single ribbon and you're never going to get another one. And let's say in Battlefield 3, you get a ribbon every match, really, for some mundane things.
Yeah, probably it was not the player was not rewarded as often as possible in Battlefield 2. I agree with that, but yeah.
It was definitely not in your face like in Battlefield 3, 4 and others. Every match ends with a big, bonus for every stat, every skill, everything you earned, basically every point. A friend always basically coded on the LAN parties, oh, my dick is already growing because I unlocked that. I'm so a hero.
When it's fine to display a lot of stats after the round ends, but during the game, that seems weird to me.
I think both is weird. But you guys mentioned so many big items, and I always say they are really important and I want them back. But one thing I always look and test in a new Battlefield game is, can I slide down a ladder? If you go something up in Battlefield 2 and you hold the shift key, if you go down, you really slide quickly down the ladder. And no other Battlefield did this. I hate them for that alone.
I didn't actually know that they deleted that. That's kind of weird. You would think that with all the advanced movement options, you would think that they would go for something, especially because it is relatively simple. So that is surprising to me.
I also was surprised that they killed the voice over IP system. But why? Why do I need something like that?
Well, I mean, voice over IP, so they don't have that anymore, right? My guess is it's kind of one of those liability things. Or maybe, like, you don't want people screaming horrible things at each other, but of course it's nice to have.
But my immersion! And my 100 player battles! And in-game browsers, I want them. But of course I also want sliding down the ladder. Don't get me wrong.
Speaking of ladders, I hate to admit it, but I think I had been playing for like 10 years. Then I realized that you can actually slide down the ladder. I had no idea, and I discovered it just by accident after 10 years of playing. So that was pretty shocking to me.
As a level designer, you hate ladders. You place as little ladders as possible because they're always awkward, and I think that goes for every game. I don't think I've ever played a game where ladders really work exactly as I would want them to. They're always... If you can place a stair or a ramp on a map instead, you place that.
Well, Battlefield 2 ladders have this weird quirk that if you approach the ladder from the other side compared to the side you were supposed to climb on, then you automatically get spawned on the correct side, which, sometimes I find myself grabbing the ladder from the other side in different games, other games, and I'm surprised they didn't teleport me to the correct position.
Yeah, what's also funny is you can tell a noob mapper by if they place a ladder at an angle, because you still go straight up even though the ladder model is at an angle, so you can cause all kinds of weird problems with that. That's how you can immediately tell if the mapper's a noob.
Yeah, but thinking now, like actually, you say why they could remove this feature from the newer games, but maybe because if I remember correctly, or correct me if I'm wrong, I think you could not jump off the ladder in Battlefield 2. You could only slide down, right? Because
So honestly, I don't know.
Yeah, because I'm thinking maybe they implemented this mechanic to slide.
I think also you can press E and you get away from the ladder, and then you can pull the parachute in vanilla.
Right.
Yeah, you
because
can
I was
jump from the ladder, yeah.
maybe I don't remember exactly, but I was thinking maybe they implemented this slide because in Battlefield 2 you could take a lot of damage, like jumping. So maybe they implemented this. You could not jump off, and they implemented this slide. But if you say you could jump, yeah, it was a different decision.
I mean, you could always deploy a parachute. That didn't require you to have a lot of height under your feet.
Yeah, if you are lucky to press enough times to open.
This is definitely a core feature in Battlefield 2, the unlimited supply of parachutes in your ass. Very important. But yeah, one other very important item is mods. What mods did you play, and what did you enjoy the most?
I will say first, unfortunately I didn't play any mods. I only played vanilla.
That's a bad comment here. Now you have to play a lot.
Sorry. With no offense.
Forgotten Hope is the first one you have to install now.
Yeah, now that TS was talking about it, yeah, I would be interested because I heard some interesting things about it. Especially since he says like DICE could have probably be inspired by the pickup weapons. So yeah, I'm interested.
Yes,
you want to go first? What inspired you? What are your favorite mods? I guess you played a lot.
Me no. Well, yeah, I actually only really played Forgotten Hope 2 and a little bit of Project Reality to try that out. Now in Battlefield 1942 I also played Desert Combat, but all of those single player. And Battlefield 1942 also had other mods that are almost completely forgotten today, like Experience World War II and Battle Group, what was it called? Battle Group 1942, I think, something like that. So I played all of these in single player. But yeah, in Battlefield 2, the only mods I played, Forgotten Hope 2 and a little bit of Project Reality, which are the two big multiplayer mods that are still active.
Active, yeah, but there is also that Allied something
AIX.
Yeah, thanks. That was also very, very big back then.
Isn't that more of a single-player thing, or am I wrong there? I didn't know that they have...
There were some co-op servers back then.
Ah, okay, but there's no... there's no kind of multiplayer versus community in there. That's what I meant with active multiplayer.
No. It was always a fun mod, basically.
Yeah, there's some player. I just checked on the browser. There's literally one guy on a co-op server right now. But it's better than nothing. As for me, I haven't really been playing a lot of mods, but the ones I played were Sandbox, so, the city mod when you can put objects in real time and create some, roller coasters for a vehicle or just anything that comes to your mind. So I played a little bit of that. I did play a little bit of AIX, but not much. It was just a silly mod for me just to try out the new crazy designs, crazy airplanes with ridiculously overpowered weapons. I was playing some Project Reality. I still have Project Reality on my PC right now, but I don't really turn it on too often. It's difficult to get into, and it's taking, sometimes you'll just be crawling through bushes for like 10 minutes before you get shot and not do anything. But that's how it is in those super realistic games. I think I did play a little bit of Forgotten Hope too, but not a lot of it. So not much experience for me.
Yeah, so for myself, I might have the most experience here. I definitely played Forgotten Hope and Project Reality, but for me, getting in right around 2012, 2013, I think was a particularly good time for the single player modding, because that was just when a lot of new animators got into the scene and started releasing new weapons, new animations, and those got absorbed into a bunch of different single-player mods. For me, Heat of Battle was built on Spec Ops Warfare, SOW2, which had a lot of animations by Enemy Sniper and also had a lot of maps built by Sergeant Prof. And I like that when I first downloaded Spec Ops Warfare, that was like, oh, this is new. This is like completely different than what I thought Battlefield 2 was, and just like the amount of stuff that changed, which now, like relatively speaking, now it's not that much. But back then it was like, oh my god, completely new weapons, new textures, new sounds, new animations, everything. And I remember like it had 3D sights and 3D. The zoomed fire animations, which was a lot more like, the modern Battlefields at the time compared to the traditional Battlefields 2, like 2D sights. And yeah, all of that made it feel so much more fresh, and that's what got me into investing more into developing my own mods and wanting to tailor the weapons to my preference. Another one at that time was was a combat mod, which is actually still in development right now. Combat mod remastered. There's been some new releases in the past few years. Also another mod that had completely revamped animations for every single gun, made the weapons feel all very fresh. Alpha Project as well also implemented a lot of unique features like weapon customization, which is really trying to recreate the experience from the alpha trailer of Battlefield 2. The developers of that have been making a new one called Unlimited Action, which I'm also very excited for. So there are so many mods that back then really inspired me to get into the modding scene, and even nowadays a lot of that is still going.
Because this reminds me of several mods that I didn't mention yet. I was talking about the past, the history just now, but as for present days, I have a Battle Racer mod, Pirates mod, and Homicide, because the Battlefield 2 community, mainly Lost Soldiers community, are organizing these events like a couple of times a year where we play some of those mods. I have some videos of those mods on my channel. We organize, let's say, a race. So we gather like 20 people and we race around, let's say, 6 maps around in a DPV vehicle with some nitros enabled and some other quirky features included in the vehicle. And we just make a championship sets of races, basically. Sometimes we play the Homicide during Halloween because it's a survival mode for killing zombies, so this fits into the theme. And there's also the Pirate mod that we just organize to play occasionally without any specific date. So I keep those 3 mods always on the server, on the disk.
Yeah, it just shows the completely wild variety of things you can do within Battlefield 2, from racing to zombies to pirates.
And pirates, yeah, it's all sorts of stuff, exactly.
Another mod I always have installed on my PC is Stargate The Relief, so you can also play in a sci-fi setting. It's sadly the best Stargate game experience you can have.
Yeah, there are also mods to sort of copy the Battlefront stuff into the game, at least for Battlefield 1942. There is a mod that does its best to essentially copy the experience of Battlefront to the battlefield. But I'm not sure if there's a version for Battlefield 2.
I definitely want to go into that direction because it's a little bit special. But one other mod I have to mention, Alpha Project.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting idea what they had there. And I think you also do some work on that. Am I correct?
I did contribute some of the weapons and animations to Alpha Project, yes.
It's basically, a few features which were promised in the alpha build, which never made it to the gold standard. It's, a good gunplay, good customization. Yeah, just a nice mod.
Yeah, Alpha Project is sort of a lot more like Vanilla Plus, where trying to keep mostly the same feel as the vanilla game, but just add some new add some improved features, add some slight tweaks without changing the feel entirely. And I mean, if you like Alpha Project, the successor to that, I suppose, is Unlimited Action, which is being developed by one of the original developers, and I believe that one is set for a November release this year.
To my shame, I never played Heat of Battle. Can you give us a short summary about that project?
Yeah, so Heat of Battle, again, this is speaking to my unique angle, is it's single player focused mod. So the gameplay is actually a lot more in the direction of having a little more in the direction of being able to play things for yourself. Like it obviously, when you're playing single player, you're not going to have as much of the teamwork aspect of being able to play with friends and experience what it's like that way. But in return, it's a Heat of Battle is what I wanted to create with the experience is very much having that sort of high intensity, a very high intensity, fast paced, but also scary. And like the enemies shoot at you a lot and you really take fire, you feel threatened, and so it's sort of like somewhere between a tactical and a fast paced Call of Duty type of shooter. Like the best way, I very much drew a lot of inspiration from games like Insurgency, which is getting a little bit, so it feels a little bit more intense, a little bit more realistic, but also it's still fast-paced and high action. And a lot of it is also just really immersive sound design, really trying to capture the audio experience of some of the newer titles. A lot of the improved graphics and especially improved animation, something that I spent a lot of time on. So it is a kind of a very much more modern feeling, like similar to Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 as a single player experience with bots. But also has some of more tactical, more intense touches to it. That's one of the things that I like from the single player standpoint. That's what made my experience the best.
Well, I guess I have to install a few more mods. Always good to have.
Yeah, and there's definitely plenty of videos you can watch to see what the experience is like. And just searching for Battlefield 2 Heat of Battle. And I'm also planning to release a new update later this year with mostly HUD changes. Yeah, very excited for that. It's going to fix up some pretty significant gameplay bugs too. So, but the overall experience of high action, high intensity, fast paced, very much works as you can see it in the videos.
Is it strictly single player only, or do you organize some events to play with several other people?
Yeah, so I would like to be able to play this game, play it multiplayer. I have never actually done that myself because, like I said, I just never had that experience of setting up a server. So I've mostly played it by myself, but I would like to be able to have that experience.
I mean, technically, it should work, right? If we all just download the mod and go to a server at the same time, then it should
absolutely.
work.
One thing I always wondered, how easy is it to mod Battlefield, and also got it easier over time?
So there's been a lot of I've been very impressed with the community in regards to the amount of tools that people have shared and tutorials, and absolutely some knowledge has been lost through like forums shutting down and not being able to access them anymore. But a lot of the core community is still very active, and there's still like a surprising amount of people releasing content for the game and being able to pick and choose between content and adding that or deciding what works, what you like and what doesn't. I think a lot of, I mean, it's interesting also because a lot of the community that contributes to the game nowadays is from other countries like China, Southeast Asia, Russia, of course. And so people from all over the world contributing their own things. And yeah, like there's so much more freedom that you can do in modding Battlefield 2 compared to almost any other game. So that means there's like always more stuff to learn. I can just like come back to it, and this thing that I never thought I would get into, it's like, oh, this is something else I can mod.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a mixed thing, because the first thing we have to say is that, of course, Battlefield 2 already has the advantage of just being moddable, which is not the case for the later ones. Now, on the one hand, then, many of the tools are archaic compared to modern development tools. And there's stuff like, I mean, today I think Ekiso made that Blender plugin, so you can use Blender to export models into Battlefield 2. But for ages you had to use 3ds Max for modeling, I'm told, which comes with a bit of baggage, let's say, and you had to use like an old version of that as well for it to work. So that's kind of on the bad side, making it harder to mod. On the other side, of course, the game itself, due to being kind of outdated, like the fidelity of everything is not so high that you need a 100 people team to do anything cool for it, you know, like you can even as a lone guy, apparently you can make a great mod if you're engaged and if you know a little bit about the technical side. So there's kind of a mixed thing going on here, archaic on the one hand, but that can also be a good thing.
Yeah, I mean,
a question like for both of you, maybe. Sorry for like just out of curiosity. Now that you both talk about modding, like, do you need coding there, or it's just modeling?
Well, that depends on what you do. Now I work with Forgotten Hope 2, and we have a team, and in that team there's also coders, right? Now I don't code. I know a little bit. I know enough Python for my purposes, but I'm a mapper. So I need to know Battlefield 2 editor, I need to know image editing like GIMP, and I need to know level design in general, and that's it. Or Photoshop if you don't want to use GIMP. So yeah, coding, if you want, I would say you need some coding if you want to do anything really advanced in your mod. Yes, but you don't necessarily need to know everything if you have a team.
Yeah, and for myself, I mean, I am the only guy behind Heat of Battle. I'm the only person who has made any of the decisions for the game. I mean, that, of course, there's been lots and lots of contributors who just released their things publicly, and I took them on or asked permission to use assets from other modders. But yeah, but aside from that, I don't have a team for Heat of Battle. And despite that, like, there's so much that you can do without necessarily needing a lot of specific tools. Like, I don't have any significant coding experience, and I pretty much, and I've done very little Python for Heat of Battle. And in fact, like, the thing where I really got started in my modding experience was all just text editing. It was all just opening up tweak files and changing the 30 damage to 40 damage, or changing the direction, replacing the sound of a file, the sound file of gun. So it was all just text editing folders, replacing files and folders. And of course, there's a lot of nuance in terms of understanding what changing the text does, and that's a lot of like where the knowledge is a bit. It can be hard to find sometimes. Like, oh, how do I actually like make if I want to make a gun more accurate? What setting do I actually need to change? That one, the knowledge is sort of like dispersed but you can always ask for help in the communities in the Discords, the Refactor 2 modding Discords, and people are very knowledgeable there. So yeah, like I started from very basic text editing and sort of gradually expanded my skills from there.
Yeah,
I'd also like to ask two of you if you're on the subject about the BF2 editor, because I have, like I assume everyone has in their Battlefield 2 catalog, the BF2 editor.exe, which is dated from May 2006. Apparently, that's the latest version.
Meme editor.
Yeah, and is this a tool that you actually use in the modern times, or is it just something from the past and you use some other tools to actually edit anything?
If you want to make a new map from scratch, to my knowledge, you have to use that tool. Now, the exit that you probably have, we don't use that exit normally because there's a so-called fixed exit that somebody did at some point that we replace it with, because otherwise it can only use so much RAM and it crashes after a while. But technically, it's still the same tool. And you actually do have to use that, but in terms of mapping, you also do, if you do like quote unquote like professional level maps and not just messing around from scratch, you probably also will do stuff in Photoshop or GIMP, for example, creating height maps and actually good looking textures and that kind of thing.
And for my part, since I haven't really worked on maps myself, I don't think I've ever used the the Battlefield 2 editor. So yeah, all of the weapons and sounds and text, all of that stuff, you don't need the editor for.
No, for that you don't need it. No.
Right.
I'm just talking mapping here. Yeah. And what he talked about. So if you want to change the properties of guns and so on, you don't really need coding, although for the uninitiated it will probably, what you're doing will look a bit like coding because you're typing in the text files. That I don't know if I would classify that as coding, but yeah, that's something that you really do in the text files. Now you do need coding experience or coders if you want to do something like for example in FH2 implement leaning. That's not something that you can do by going into a text file. Then you need a specialist, basically.
Before we go into the current state of modding, especially the Chinese mods, I would like to know from you guys, did you play ever Special Forces? We always talked about the core vanilla experience, but not about the add-on.
I think only single player on like a cracked version of Battlefield 2. I do remember that I was quite impressed by the grappling hooks.
They were nice. And the night vision.
Yeah, that's actually, if I may go on kind of a nerdy rant here, that's something that we are kind of confused about with the Special Forces DLC. They have some kind of new tech in there that doesn't really work on vanilla and which we have never, to my knowledge, really figured out. They managed to bake like light maps into the terrain from like lamps and so on, and this just doesn't work when we try it. So there's some special sauce they have on those maps. Maybe actually somebody except me on the team actually knows how that works, but as far as I know, we have never implemented that ourselves.
Is this one of the reasons maybe that no modder ever went to the Special Force direction?
I don't know. There might also be copyright issues there, of course, but I don't know.
I feel like I play more Special Forces than the vanilla game, actually, because right now there's this concurrent event by Lost Soldiers that every Sunday evening European time we gather to play Special Forces, and most of the time there's somebody to play on Sunday evening. So I think that's a super cool experience because it's even more niche than the vanilla game, because there's just so few of us Special Forces players, so to speak. Because there's like a niche within a niche, so it's a super unique experience to be able to play that expansion after 20 years.
Yeah, what I remember from that time is that Special Forces came out, and that was like the big expansion for Battlefield 2. And they did these kind of expansions before, like Battlefield 1942 had first Road to Rome, and then Secret Weapons of World War II, which was really the funner one. But that's neither here nor there. No, this was the big one, and then they had these. They had a special word for
Booster packs?
Booster packs. That's the word, and these were actually very controversial back then because, among other things, because they were so small, there were these small content packs, and I remember you could buy them in the store, but you didn't even get a DVD. You just got a code in it to get the booster packs, and then they had the maps in there, and I think they were fairly not necessarily small, but you got these map pack basically, and in many ways like the horse armor in Skyrim, this was kind of like a preview of the future. This was like the first sign of things to come in the future.
I mean, I did buy both of the booster packs, and the only thing you had inside was a literal leaflet for, I think it was called EA Download Manager or EA Play, whichever came before Origin, one of the first iterations of the EA the e-store, so to speak. So there was just a link for, I think it was called EA Download Manager, just to download the manager and input the special code that was imprinted on the leaflet. That's how it works, because the booster packs are what you would call in today's terms a DLC, and Special Forces is a good old expansion pack.
If I'm not mistaken, they were included later on as a patch, all those maps.
I think so.
Yeah, all of the content, all the maps, weapons, voice files, everything was included in a pre-patch eventually.
Yeah, and one of the maps that was included in there, I think it's called Armored Fury, which was that a thing? No, not Armored Fury.
Oh, that's the name of the booster pack.
That was the name of the booster pack.
Armed Fury, Armed Fury.
One of the maps in there is actually it was set like in the USA and had like these covered bridges and everything, and that is actually the only map that we ever ported over to Forgotten Hope 2 from Battlefield 2. We made it into like a French countryside because we needed one more French map for one of the patches, and I'm gonna say this for DICE, it is to this day, and we made actually a poll a while back, it is to this day one of the most popular maps we have in our mod, and it's actually a DICE map, the only one we ported over. So they knew what they were doing with these DLC maps.
You mean the map on like a countryside, US countryside, or a map with a highway? What was on the map?
No, the map we ported had like a river going through it with bridges over it. I don't know what the original
Operation Harvest.
Operation Harvest, yeah.
Operation Harvest, yeah, that's it.
That one you mean? Okay.
Yeah, and we turned that. Our World War II version of that is called Operation Total Life, and it has Canadians and Germans.
I could see it, definitely.
Definitely more than the highway. I thought, how did you include the highway in World War II?
Autobahn.
yeah. One other thing, which was, I would not say annoying, but I didn't enjoy it as much as the vanilla game experience, was infantry only mode. Did you guys like it? Did you hate it?
I only just remembered that was a thing. I mean, to me, I'm going to say this. I have nothing against infantry-only maps in Battlefield, but obviously they need to be designed for that purpose. You know, to me, it doesn't make sense to have a huge open map with airfields in both main bases, and then there's no vehicles on there. That's just to me, that just was probably just some kind of lazy solution that they cooked up. Okay, you check infantry mode, and we delete the vehicles, and we have more content, so to speak. I think the better there, it's actually a better solution what they're doing right now, where you play, I don't know, team deathmatch mode on a map, and it cuts out a part of the map, and you play team deathmatch there. It makes more sense than just deleting the vehicles.
I mean, I don't hate the infantry mode. I just never play it. The only map that is played on the infantry mode ever, pretty much, is Strike at Karkand, and that's just an infinite nade spam for me. So I'd rather stay away from that.
Gonna say this, I was surprised that they did not include a remake of Karkand in Battlefield 6. I would have bet on that, to be honest, because that was the big, map back then.
Do we already know the map cycles?
I think so.
I don't know, but I think they included some sort of Easter egg where the mech loading theme is included in some firing range or somewhere. Just saw
in the firing range there's a radio, and every time you go there you can hear a music song. I mean I'm a Battlefield theme from a different game, even 1942 and Battlefield Heroes even. But maybe I don't know, because when they first revealed Battlefield 6, like that map Cairo, which is now we know it as Cairo officially, like it looked very similarly to Battlefield Karkan, and people were thinking maybe it's gonna be Strike at Karkan, a remake or something. So we later found out that it's not it, but we don't know. Maybe later we'll because they kind of promised, I think officially, if I'm not wrong, in a blog post, that based on fans' suggestions, they will add classic maps to Battlefield 6. So we'll see, maybe.
Speaking about tributes to Battlefield 2, we had back then so many videos, so many funny screenshots. Is there anything which sticks to you guys to this day? Anything really, really amazing that you still have to watch even a few times per year?
Oh, there's lots of content, like, I don't know, the Pond Life. I think it's the first thing that comes to mind, for me at least.
Yeah, the mine, for me, it's the mine video and the Pond Life videos. Like, those are, I watch them from time to time, like, they are so good.
I remember Serpento 99's Battlefield 2 gun sounds.
Oh, yeah, also.
Yeah, very catchy.
I think it's most likely the most popular Battlefield 2 video in terms of amount of views, even though it came relatively late in Battlefield 2's life. There's also the APC song. I think it's a parody of JBC song or something like that, some other company. And what else was there? There was Battlefield 2 in real life, series of videos. It wasn't really very popular, but I remember watching it all those years ago, and I loved it. It was like, just some American kids pretending to be the actual Battlefield 2 soldiers and highlighting all the issues with the gameplay, so to speak. I love those videos. But I think for me personally, the Pond Life is the number one piece of media, so to speak, because it parodies the classes so well, the behavior of players in the game itself, like how the pressing the number 9 for parachute never works the first time you try, or how support players never give you ammo. It's been 20 years and it's still exactly the same thing. So a timeless classic for me.
Besides the mine video and the recreation of the A-Team intro in Battlefield 2, I have to make again some advertisement for Project Reality and Forgotten Hope 2. You guys make amazing trailers. I still have them in my favorite trailer list and watch it every few years. Just epic music and epic background.
Yeah, they're always quite fun to make, even though you're doing the same thing over and over again until it looks just right. But it's always nice to sit in TeamSpeak or Discord with the testers and the other devs and just talk about, mess around. It's always quite fun.
And I really have to mention to the other guys here, the team behind Forgotten Hope 2 really goes the extra mile in recreating the maps, the weapons, the factions which play on the different maps. It's unbelievable what those guys do on the research side. They have so much documentation. Really, again, a big thank you guys for doing all that hard work.
Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, like, even after 18 years, them doing all these things, it says something about the dedication and passion.
Especially they recreated the best documented case of a pile of poo, dirt, garbage. They have a French map where they have a picture of manure, and they recreated that.
They recreated dirt? What do you mean?
No, it's like, okay, when we create maps, sometimes we go into archives and look at old maps and so on, and also old photos, from postcards, for example. And in one map that we released with I think 2.6 patch, which was set in France, 1940. There was a famous photo of a knocked out tank, I think, that was actually knocked out in this battle. And there was a big manure pile, because it's a rural French village. They have manure piles in front of the buildings from animals and so on. And we have the manure pile in the same place on the map, and that's what it means.
All right, sounds fun.
But really going an extra mile here, the modding community, of course, over the years went a little bit down in popularity until a certain day where out of the blue we got more and more Chinese mods. What do you think about that, guys? I was really surprised that we have a different community on the other side of the planet and we don't know much about it.
Yeah, that's actually quite interesting, because there's a big Chinese community for FH2 who run their own servers with their own custom maps as well. And as far as we are aware, we don't have a lot of contact with them because they're kind of behind the big Chinese firewall, right? But as far as we're aware, they actually did some kind of crazy, unusual stuff. Like, I'm pretty sure they have maps set during the Chinese Civil War and stuff like that, which we don't have in vanilla Forgotten Hope 2. And so, yeah, I think it's nice. Generally speaking, Battlefield 2 mods, and especially like when they're like Project Reality or Forgotten Hope 2, when they are standalone, they do appeal a lot to players from Asia, Eastern Europe, and so on, because they maybe are not able to afford the kind of computer that runs Battlefield 6, but you can run Battlefield 2 on most modern computers easily, right? So yeah, it makes kind of logical sense that the community could kind of move in that direction.
I just find it sad that we don't have a lot of English documentation about the mods and that they are often hosted on some shady websites.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of something you generally see right now, that the internet gets a bit more splintered, right? I'm pretty sure, even though that we are having the problem right now due to the political and war situation, we have massive problems. We have tons of players in Forgotten 2 that are from Ukraine, that are from Russia, right? Especially in Russia, of course, World War II is a big theme, and we have Russian maps and content and so on. And lots of our players are Russians, and now the Russian government starts fucking with the internet, and they just, for example, randomly cut connections to our servers, which are hosted mostly in Germany, and then they reinstated them, and then they cut again, and we don't know what's going on. I'm pretty sure in the future there will not be the internet like we see it today. It will be fragmented in some way with the the nation states and interest groups kind of carving it up, which is sad, but I guess that's kind of the system we're living in.
Yeah, for me, it's been fascinating. I mean, I live in the US, and just through my experience just working with Battlefield 2 community, I've worked with people from all around the world, from Austria, from Italy, from South Africa, lots and lots of, as you said, lots and lots from China and Southeast Asia. And yeah, you can see just the wide variety of content coming from all over the world, and that's something that I just don't really have as much from, I don't get to experience as much from just normally in the US. And yeah, there's I mean, of course there's also a large there's a large variety of quality. Some things are incredibly impressive, and it's I don't even know how they did that, but they're brilliant. And then there's also other ones which are just this is kind of just a copy of things that have already been done, and there's no actual creative effort being put into it. But yeah, I mean, it's just amazing to see how much traction this game has, outside of English-speaking communities, and it's this whole other world that we kind of vaguely have a little bit of contact with, but otherwise you would have no idea.
A question to the resident experts. Have you ever tested the HD mods, which say they include better textures, better everything?
I mean, I suppose I have the most experience, because I guess you could say that Heat of Battle is like is a version of that, with HD guns, models, and animations and sounds. I know there was just a Battlefield 2 HD remastered mod, which I worked with those developers. I mean, that one, I don't know, like, it does change quite a bit. Like, it does add a lot of new, like, Battlefield 4 style weapons, which to me doesn't make it feel as much like a traditional remastered mod. I mean, yeah, like Alpha Project and the upcoming Unlimited Action to me feel more like the sort of Manila Plus type of experience.
No, what I will say, I don't know about that mod. Never tried it, or what they mean with HD textures. I mean, you can scale up the textures. At some point, you might run into problems with RAM. One thing I will say now, here's the thing, right? The other devs in FH2, they always get on my case because I leak stuff, so I can't say too much. That said, behind the scenes in FH2, we experiment a lot, and we have working, let's call it prototypes or proof of concept things that you can do in the Refractor engine, including stuff like normal maps for terrain textures, that kind of thing. Different shader stuff that I don't even understand because it's not my area. And we are working to bring that to FH2. It's just it works, but we have to implement it. As you can imagine, that's a whole another thing. But yeah, we do hope that at some point we can kind of bring out a kind of engine overhaul to a degree.
That's really nice. I just, in general, I'm amazed that you guys are still working on Forgotten Hope and all the other mappers and modders out there. It's so nice that we still have that. What also is very nice is that we still have a lot of community servers. And we mentioned it in the discussion. Lost Soldiers is hosting a ton of events, and hats off to them again. I also had them a few times on the channel. So it's a good bunch of people where you can basically go and experience full servers and good events. But Domenico, I guess you played a little bit more in those groups than I have.
Yeah, I mean, I try to follow what's happening with Lost Soldiers and participate in the events. I think, we have this recurring event about special forces. I don't really consider that an event because it happens every week. So this is just a thing that Lost Soldiers do. Like I mentioned before, the gathering on Sunday evening times to play some special forces. But apart from that, there's these mods I mentioned, the Pirates mod, the Homicide, and the Battle Racer. I think Battle Racer is the most fun for me because it's just so much different than anything else, really, because you don't really shoot at anyone. You just get into a car, and it's really more sophisticated than you might think. The mod, it calculates your checkpoint times, your lap times, and displays let's say the best lap of the entire race. Once the race is finished, it has some quirks, like some cars play some specific funny music when you activate a button. So it's super fun just to gather around and play something else for a change. And if you want more FPS experience, then I guess the Pirates mod is the best. Because again, it's not taking itself too seriously. You have a faction of skeletons and a faction of actual pirates, so to speak. And there's some opportunities for naval warfare. There's even some silly airplanes that you can do. There's a dolphin you can ride on. There's a parrot that you can use as an anti-air missile and use it by shoving some gunpowder up the parrot's ass and lighting it on fire. So it's not really taking itself too seriously, and that's what I love about it, because at the end of the day, we gather here to have fun, and it's just fun to see the game that you know by heart, but in an entirely different manner, modded to a complete different experience. So yeah, if I can advertise a little bit, I can advertise to just follow Lost Soldiers on Discord and see whenever they organize a new event.
Did you also try the Super community and the 2F4Y community?
I mean, I'm not in their Discord. If they have a Discord, there's a tab for allied events, so to speak. So I did play like other events by other communities, like an event for Pirates mod, but on Battlefield 1942 and not on Battlefield 2, or the mod I also mentioned already, the mod for I know its name, but the one that gives you the Battlefront experience, so Star Wars mod basically.
Star Wars mod? You mean for Battlefield 2142 First Strike?
No, I mean a mod for Battlefield 1942 that transforms the game to a Star Wars
I remember, yeah. Conquest, Star Wars Conquest, I think. Something like that, at least.
Battle Conquest, maybe something like that. I don't remember the exact name right now.
Yeah, but I know what you mean. It's also an interesting mod.
So yeah, I highly recommend just following communities that organize events and taking part in them, because it's super fun. Just make sure you download the appropriate mod prior, so there are no unnecessary delays for you to start playing. But otherwise, it's a great experience.
I especially love that they are not only focusing on the vanilla content, especially strike at Karka and infantry only stuff, that they also do modded events, special forces, every kind of flavor they do. And they even use old mods which are broken and fix them and make an event out of it.
I mean, sure, like the Battle Racer mod is the current version of Battle Racer mod has been modified by Shrike from Lost Soldiers, I think, to fix some bugs. So it's a different mod now that we use like for the first time, let's say 5 years ago or something. So because again, this is the thing we've touched upon already. It's easily modifiable, the entire game. So this works both ways. You can easily start a new mod, but you can also easily download an already existing mod and adjust it for yourself or fix some bugs that you find. Everything is viewable, modifiable. You can have access to all the files, all the details, and I suppose you can fix most of these things again with no programming language, like we also mentioned here, just by opening some notepad files in a notepad and making some appropriate inputs. So yeah, the mods are also being worked on as we play on them.
Didn't Lost Soldiers also host a winter mod, a winter themed mod?
Oh right, yeah, I completely forgot about it, but you're right. There's also this winter mod. I think it's called Arctic Warfare. So the maps on there, the weapons are quite varied. They're pretty different from one another, but they all have this single theme that they are just winter maps. So there's just a lot of snow, a lot of ice. And we host the event, or Lost Soldiers, because I'm not part of Lost Soldiers technically, but they host that event right before Christmas usually. So it works really well, especially that there is a map with a giant tree. It's almost like a Christmas tree, and that it works like a King of the Hill mode, kind of, because one team spawns on the top of the hill by the Christmas tree, and the other team spawns all around the tree. And if they capture the tree, which serves as a control point, then the map finishes. So again, super fun, but it's like you can only play that once per year during the Christmas time.
It's so rare that we have shooter-themed seasonal events. So yeah, can't wait for the next one.
Yep, highly recommend. Like I said, it's I think it's a collection of maps, because they are varied greatly. I think you can tell that each of the map, or pretty much each of the map, was created by somebody else, because everyone does their maps to their personal tastes. So each map is unique and has some features of the original creator who thought they should be there. So it's very varied. I think there's like even a Stalingrad map from Battlefield 1942, pretty much just ported to the game. Or maybe it was from Call of Duty. No, I think it's from Battlefield 1942. So huge variety, but the winter theme is still there. And it's one of the features that every map change, you're not certain what's going to happen next.
Winter is always a big theme also in the Forgotten Hope game, Forgotten Hope mod. Do you guys have any upcoming updates or events?
We just released the 2.66 update quite recently. So that was, wait, let me check, on the 17th of June, the Red Christmas event, in June. No, but that was our last patch with 2 new maps, tons of new content and bug fixes, of course. And so we don't release these updates that often, is the thing, right? So we will release something at some point, but we don't have any concrete date for what the next patch will be. Our plan right now is that the next patch will have at least 2 maps, and it will introduce 2 new factions, namely the Belgians and the Norwegians. That's the current plan. Now, those kind of plans have a way of changing sometimes. What will probably happen is that there will be, usually we run one Christmas event and with custom winter maps, and we run one D-Day event with Normandy themed maps around June. So that will probably happen. Between that, of course, the CMP guys are using FH2 to do their tournament. I know they're working on the next campaign now, probably for the autumn, which I think will be Pacific themed this time. So yeah, there's stuff happening like that, but we don't have any concrete plans in terms of when the next patch will be out.
Talking also about the future, will there ever be a mod where we have nice ship battles like in Battlefield 1942?
Well, here's the thing. In 1942, you could run around on the ships. When you do that in Battlefield 2, you get launched into the atmosphere, like you get glitched around. Now, we had custom maps on FH2 made, among other things, by the CMP guys. So custom maps for a mod that were Pacific themed, and they have ships, right? And we played those on a server as well. People liked it. Personally, I thought it was a downgrade compared to Battlefield 1942 and too simplistic for like what Forgotten Op 2 gameplay is normally like, but people really loved it, so who can argue with that? That said, I don't think we will ever have quite the same quality of ship combat on Battlefield 2 that was possible on Battlefield 1942.
It's sad. For me, this is really a core element I would love in a new Battlefield game. We only had it in 1942. I want this back. What about the other guys? What features would you like?
Okay, yeah, real quick. Well, regarding the ship combat, but this comes kind of from a nerdy direction here. I can kind of see it. On the other hand, I wonder sometimes if people look at it through kind of rose-tinted glasses. And from a realism standpoint, what many people maybe don't realize is that these kind of ship-to-ship combats, like they were in Battlefield 1942 with cannons shooting at each other, were actually, especially by World War II, and certainly today, they were like basically non-existent or exceedingly rare because of aircraft carriers. In most naval battles in World War II, the two fleets never saw each other because of, aircraft. So the way it is was fun. Well, the way it was is kind of fun, but it's also so unrealistic that personally, from my view, because, I like the historical accuracy in FH2, I don't really want it back because it's kind of nonsense on a deep level, you know what I mean? But I kind of get it.
I remember reading the manual of the game, and I don't know if it's also the case in the English version, but in the Polish version, in the manual of Battlefield 2 that you will get in the Battlefield 2 box, there was a section for key bindings, and under the naval section there was a specific key binding that would describe pressing the down arrow as opening or raising the doors to the landing craft. Because as far as I remember, that's how it worked in Battlefield 1942, and somehow they copied that into the manual of Battlefield 2, even though obviously there was never any feature like that. We only had this.
I can confirm that works. In FH2 we have landing craft and they work exactly like that, so they did implement that, and you can also use that for other stuff in FH2, like lowering the sunroof on your Jeep or putting it up, and you can put like these armored protection shield in front of your windshields on some armored personnel carriers, that kind of thing, so you can use it for that.
I mean, yeah, the code is there since they based it on the Battlefield 1942. So the code is there, but they never implemented in the actual game any vehicle that would use the down arrow button. But they did still mention that in the official manual. So that's
or maybe it was a cut-off feature. Maybe they cut it off.
Most likely, yeah.
Because also I remember reading on the wiki page of Battlefield 2. it was mentioned a mode but was cut off from the game before launch. It was, I think, called Supply Line, and because some people, the modders, I think, they found some mentions about this mode, Supply Line, in the game, but they never knew what it was about, how it would work. So maybe, I don't know, maybe one day a developer or someone maybe will tell us what it was about.
I mean, I would like to have the naval side of the game expanded. I wish they would do that, because the only thing we have is those rigid inflatable boats that you can destroy with a single throw. So I think it would be great if you had like a bigger ship that would actually be able to withstand a couple of hits before getting destroyed. We also have the jet ski in the special forces, but that's an even smaller and more fragile vessel, so to speak. But I envy Battlefield 2042 players for being able to, control much bigger ships and have some actual naval warfare.
Yeah, also Battlefield 4 had a good naval warfare. They had bigger boats, attack boats, so you could fight between each other.
Yeah, I heard about it, but never experienced it myself.
Yeah, I didn't really like it because of the maps, how they were designed. It was not, I don't know, I would say maybe immersed. But yeah, you could fight. Maybe there were some maps that allowed to enjoy more the naval warfare, but most of the maps didn't allow to do it. But yeah, at least they had good water vehicles, like boats.
Speaking about vehicles, I also don't like the trend in modern shooters that you can spawn as a tank or as a boat. I want to get into the vehicles. I want them on the map, and then I choose to be a pilot, for example, and then play as a tank pilot.
Yes, this would have been one of the gaming features you asked earlier. This would have been gaming features I would have mentioned. Yeah, the airstrips, but I always loved that. Like I know it's people maybe nowadays they love to get straight into action or whatever, but yeah, it was so nice to go and you are leaving your I don't know, soldier fantasy. You were imagining yourself as a soldier. You go there and
you're not a soldier, you're just a machine now. You just immediately spawn as an airplane.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they nowadays design this for saving resources from the game or something. But yeah, the airstrips were amazing.
Maybe they're trying to prevent the situation like it happens sometimes in Battlefield 2, that there's like 5 players spawning on airfield and just do nothing because they didn't get the airplane, so they decide to stick around and wait for the aircraft to crash so they can try again. And they just spend most of the game camping around on the
but
airfield.
It was part of the experience,
It was, yeah.
For that, the commander has the artillery feature to kill his own teammates if they are stupid.
Oh, but not only the commander. Like you could always kill your teammates with explosives, as I remember with C4.
Yeah.
You could. That's one of the things that changed during the years. That early on there was pretty much always friendly fire turned on.
Yeah.
Now it's very difficult to find a server where you can actually team kill your teammate.
Yeah, because they don't want to have the headache with adminning that, and they also don't want to give the community the control over the servers to admin it. But I do agree. I think actually, in my opinion, friendly fire is kind of essential for Battlefield, because I feel like grenade spam is best countered by friendly fire. Because if you throw your grenades willy-nilly everywhere and you kill your whole team, you will stop real quick with that.
I mean, also there are many situations that pop back to mind. But for example, like in the already mentioned the Pond Life, they were describing the commander as the one who always puts. That's how the video starts actually, by a friendly fire artillery strike, and that will happen occasionally. That you would place an artillery strike on an empty control point, and then suddenly 5 seconds later there are like 5 of your teammates on the right under the artillery strike button, and
full jeep drive in.
Yeah, and they wouldn't like look at the menu up at all. They would like vote to mutiny you straight away after the
skill issue. They didn't check.
What's funny, or even more, even more funny was that if you are like firing, you get a lock on an anti-air missile. You'd fire an anti-air missile, but then it would lose its tracking or whatever, it would switch its targets to a friendly aircraft or a chopper. So occasionally you could say fire an Igla at an enemy jet, but somehow the missile would just get distracted, so to speak, and aim for your Black Hawk or whatever, the transport chopper. So you could like accidentally team kill 5 of your teammates just by firing a single anti-air missile. It was annoying back then, but now that I think about it, it was funny as hell. You could get like minus 10 points with a single click, and despite your best intentions to having a lock on enemy jet, that's how your team best intentions end up with. That was super funny.
Yeah, I mean, friendly fire. I mean, maybe because nowadays people would not agree to that system. Like, I'm pretty sure they would hate it. But at the same time, like this friendly fire mechanic, like it slows a bit the gameplay. Like you don't just run and gun. You know, you need to be careful. Like you need to check first who you shoot at. You know, like. But
it's
now
just too unrealistic for me. I mean, Battlefield 2 has never been a simulator, but it kept a nice balance between simulation and fun action.
Exactly.
And,
because
turning off friendly fire is just thinking it's too much into arcade territory for me.
Yeah, because indeed Battlefield 2 was never a simulator, but as you say, it did a very good job at making it feel like a simulator, but at the same time it was not. But I don't know, the friendly fire, to be honest, because now if I'm thinking, I never had a problem before when I was playing when I was younger, because I already knew there's friendly fire, so I need to be careful. Nowadays, when I played a few months ago Battlefield 2, now I know that I should be really careful, because I got a lot of friendly kills. So because you are used to the new games, like if you played the newer games and you didn't play Battlefield 2 in a long time and you go back to it, this can happen, because in the latest Battlefield titles, they even implemented this feature because of the complaints of players that you can shoot through your teammates, you can shoot the enemy, because people were complaining, man, there's a teammate in front of me and I want to shoot the enemy, but it's because of my friend I can't shoot that guy. So they implemented this feature. I think it was actually 2042 first time they did this, I'm not sure. And
that sounds incredibly stupid.
You can shoot through it or also run through it, like the models, they don't you can run through your teammate, because people were also complaining, I remember this, in some choke points, in some corridors, you wanted to run, but there was a friendly in the door, and you could not go through the corridor because of your teammates, and people were getting annoyed and all of that. So they implemented this thing that you can run through the player model, or shoot. So it's, I don't know, the latest games are kind of too much arcadey, I don't know.
That's stupid. Even in Battlefield 2, you can push your teammates a little bit if you nudge them in the appropriate direction. You can just block you forever.
Or just kill them if they don't let you do something.
As long as the friendly fire is on, as long as it is.
I mentioned in the beginning we have a few websites, a lot of documentation, but I'm not sure about the map editor. How much of a documentation is there out there? Can I, as a noob, start modding in general, but also map editing?
Forgotten Op 2 has an official Battlefield 2 editor and mapping tutorial that is still up. I can actually, one second. I can actually put that into I will put the link into the chat.
In general, if you have any links, any videos, anything you want to share, please send it, and I will put it into the video.
This is the tutorial series that was released with 2.0. I think it's somewhat outdated, especially some of the additional programs are probably, there's better options these days, and I mean this is old, right? But the general setup and so on is still the same. Now, and I myself also made a mapping tutorial where I actually went through making a map from beginning to end. I can link to that playlist. It's like 42 videos that I had, where I really showed almost in real time. I sped up some parts how I made a map. So this is a video series and I can. The map was Operation Mars. For those who don't play FH2, 1 second. So this was it's the screenshot from the finished map. So yeah, I made a tutorial really detailed from the beginning to end how I made that map, basically. So in terms of mapping, that's probably the two resources. If you really watch that and practice a bit, you should be able to whip up a map.
Nice, thank you. One important fact about the future is, of course, new players. What would you guys say can we do as a community to attract new players and keep the game alive?
I mean, I'm going to say this. We had the most success recently from TikTok. A guy on his own volition made some Forgotten Hope 2 TikTok videos or whatever you call them. I'm kind of a boomer when it comes to TikTok. And they apparently hit quite well in the Eastern European market because we suddenly got a big surge of players. But then, of course, the Russian government suddenly decided to cut the internet cables, but that's a different story.
I mean, making some viral content would be the best way, probably, because it's really an uphill battle, especially with the game being pulled from online stores. So if you are a new player, let's say if you are a newer, younger Battlefield 2 fan, Battlefield as a serious fan, let's say you started with Battlefield 3 and you feel inclined to check how Battlefield 2 looked like, then it's really difficult because where do you even start? You cannot even go to Origin or Steam or whatever. You need to find a link, and the links, I mean, they could look shady. You need to look for a link. If you're a younger person, then you might be feeling discouraged from downloading a file from, let's say, a privately run clan. So it's a matter of finding the game first, which is very difficult. If you are new into that, then you need to understand you need to have this Battlefield 2 hub or whichever system, and how to link the two together. It's really difficult to start completely anew if you've never done it before. So I would encourage you to keep trying. If there are some players who would like to try out Battlefield 2 for the first time, because it's definitely worth it. But like I said, it's not an easy job to gather everything around. I'm one of the lucky few that actually have the Battlefield 2 game linked to their EA account, to the Origin. But if you don't have that, then it's not easy to find an appropriate link. So yeah, we are pretty powerless to fix it, because what can we do? I'm not going to host, let's say, our website dedicated just for downloading Battlefield 2, because EA lawyers will get in contact with me real soon. So it's an uphill battle.
I think that's it's also hard because young people today are used basically to Steam and similar programs, and so we can't put, for example, Forgotten Hope 2, we can't put that on Steam. Now we do have, I would say, a pretty streamlined process to download it. We have a big, website with a landing page, and then you click on it and you just download a launcher that automatically keeps your game updated, which is already more comfortable than modding used to be, in the good old days, right? But even then, you're asking somebody, hey, download this program, it's a game and it's free and you can just download it and install it. And yeah, that is, if you're not in that world, that is kind of shady. And we often had problems where this or that anti-virus program gives out a false positive maybe, right? And then people show up on our Discord and ask us, hey, are you installing Bitcoin miner on my computer or whatever, right? And the thing is, we live in a world where that is not even irrational. I mean, that could happen. If somebody offers you something free 90% of the time on the internet, you can assume that you're getting fucked in some way, So yeah, it's kind of an uphill battle here.
Yeah, I think what would help us guarantee was if we had the game in the stores, that would be awesome. Even if the game cost $10, $15, so pretty expensive for considering the age of the game and the fact that it doesn't even work on multiplayer out of the box. But if we had those games on Steam and Origin, then that would be great. Great way to start inviting new players. But there's nothing we can do about it. We won't convince EA to actually put these back on. Especially, like I said, I think it's the reason why these games are pulled, Battlefield 2 and other titles, is because of the legal issues or just avoiding a flood of customers writing support tickets why the game isn't working, because we will be trying to connect to the GameSpy servers, which have been shut down so long ago. And EA is just wanting to avoid that, I assume, but it's hurting us as a community greatly.
Yeah, but at the same time, like Battlefield 2 and the Refractor Battlefield titles, at least you can play locally with bots. So yeah, but we should not be a problem for EA to still sell this game. But yeah, maybe it's also, as you mentioned, because of the multiplayer servers being shut down and they don't want to get any lawsuits or anything from the customers.
I guess the real reason is they don't want competition. Their own competition even.
Yeah.
Especially if you consider, hey, that way the players are forced more or less to upgrade their PCs. It's, yeah, like I said, competition for them.
And the main thing is, if you run as a company, if you run one of these games as a service thing, if people then also put out free content, it's kind of eats into your profits then.
One way, yeah. On the other side, look at so many games in the history of gaming where mods just increased sales by a lot, really a lot.
Yeah. Look at Arma.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Arma is a different game in terms of monetization and what's behind it than Battlefield. Because Arma is a game for, like milsim nerds, and so if they didn't even have like the possibility to make a profitable games as a service thing as the Battlefield devs are trying, right? So for them, it's a good deal. You get you make the game open for modding, and then somebody comes in and invents PUBG, and suddenly everybody downloads Arma for that, and they get the money, right? It's not really how Battlefield is run. It's simply a different ballgame.
Sadly, that's not true for Arma 3. In Arma 3, they went a really crazy direction where they had watermarks in-game which popped up, and sometimes you couldn't even see the enemy because the pop-up is there and the enemy killed you. And the pop-up, for example, was for the latest tank, the latest jet, the latest weapon, and it was directly in your face.
Okay, that's really weird. Yeah, I'm not in Arma, so I don't know, but that sounds really stupid.
So you can you can milk your audience everywhere.
I mean, didn't the Battlefield 2 booster packs, didn't they have like in-game advertisement on billboards where the texture would change? There was that thing as well, right? I just remembered that.
Yeah, for the Intel processor in one of the tank maps.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Highway
And I
camping,
think
yeah.
it was paid for, like, weird.
Yeah, but at the same time, Arma, if I'm not wrong, from what I read before, Arma, like the game for Bohemia, I think it's like, maybe it's too much to say like a side project, but Bohemia, they also do military simulators for actually governments. They train soldiers on this, so maybe the game is like a side project, maybe to get some, like, pocket money or something like that.
Yeah, it's the same thing. In addition to Forgotten About 2, I also play Combat Mission, which is like a military simulation. And they also released one that's marketed to militaries. And apparently that's, I mean, if you manage to lobby a government to buy that, you're basically set, because you can print money from that.
Yeah.
The last thing I also want to mention is, sorry, go ahead.
No, I just want to mention quickly, like, because now we talked a bit of Arma, like, I played recently Arma, like, since I got the PC on the new year, I played Arma Reforger, I got it, and I wanted to mention that, man, like, when I was playing Arma, to be honest, it was reminding me of Battlefield 2 in some ways. I know it's more hardcore, it's more milsim, but the community, the vibe, people were helping each other. They were having fun. They were not like going very long to get kills or whatever. They were going to get objectives, or everyone was doing something their way, like. And I remember this in Battlefield 2 because I mean, the community was a big aspect of the game. I think the community made Battlefield 2 special and what it is nowadays, as we know it nowadays. So yeah, that's what I wanted to mention about Arma.
This is so true. I completely forgot about that aspect back then, and even today in Battlefield 2 and then Armor and Reforger, etc. In those kind of games, it's really important that you find a good server for you fitting. You found a nice community. You can really stay there forever and just chat with the different members. This is an aspect in modern gaming I really miss, that I know, hey, I have 3 hours of free time. I join my favorite community server in Battlefield 2 and then I chat via voice over IP and have a nice battle. This I would never do in a modern Battlefield game or on a Counter-Strike server. This is gone from gaming a little bit.
Yeah, Arma and Bohemia, they work on Arma 4, so we'll see what they do. It's gonna release in 2027.
And maybe in 2029 or 2030, we can even play the game with 30 FPS. Bohemia is very known for their bad performance at launch.
Well, yeah, we'll see. I mean, they said they use Arma Reforger as a testing platform for Arma 4, so...
We can only hope.
Yeah. Maybe they'll even try to compete with Battlefield.
What I'm also hoping for the future is that there is again a little bit more emphasis on posting mods and downloads on trusted websites like Mod Database, where people can comment that, for example, there's an antivirus who tells me, oh, this could be dangerous, or that it's totally safe. I don't like to download anything from a shady website. I really want feedback from the community that, hey, at least 1,000 people downloaded it, nothing happened, nobody complained. Then I'm happy.
Yeah, as we were speaking of this earlier, like you said, there's no database about mods or, I don't know, any other details about Battlefield 2. Like, it would be a good idea maybe to make, I don't know, like a website or something, like a database, a Battlefield 2 museum, where there's some history about the game, there's some mods, you know, like, because Battlefield 2 for me, and I'm pretty sure you might agree, but I think Battlefield 2 is the most influential Battlefield, like, from all the titles, because, man, like, a lot of mods came to life from Battlefield 2, or even Forgotten Hope and Squad game, Project Reality. Like, for example, Squad is also a standalone game, but it would not have existed without Battlefield 2. And also I was reading some things about Battlefield 2, and maybe this is just speculation, but Battlefield 2 in 2005 when it launched, it was, and this is actually true, there's data, it was dominating Call of Duty. But 2 years after Battlefield 2 came to life, and it was so popular, like in 2007, Call of Duty, they made a Modern Warfare game. So, I don't know, we'll never know, but maybe Call of Duty also got somehow inspired by Battlefield 2 and became what we know it today.
Oh, definitely inspired Modern Warfare, 100%.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it did, especially the weapon customization, which was a big thing in Call of Duty 4. You know, weapon customization, I think, is kind of a logical, better version of the unlocking system in Battlefield 2. I think, you know, I said earlier that, you know, the modern Battlefield progression system is kind of the conclusion or the logical evolution of the one from Battlefield 2. But I think the ones who actually innovated on it most were probably the Call of Duty 4 guys.
Yeah, it would be, as I say, like, it would be nice. I don't know. This would take a lot of work to do, but Battlefield 2 museum, an online museum, would be, I don't know, maybe nice to have a list with at least the most popular mods or videos or communities or, yeah, something like this.
I will only spoil a little bit here. I'm working not on a Battlefield 2 archive, but in a gaming archive at the moment. So there will be something in the future where I hope I can really preserve more gaming history, more than I'm doing here on this channel. But yeah, now I open the mic to you guys. Is there anything we missed anything you would like to mention before we end it?
Yeah, I don't know. I would just mention that whoever will listen to this video, like, better go buy or try to find a physical copy. There are actually a lot of on Amazon. You can find even sealed ones at good prices. And buy the Refractor Battlefield games, because in 20 years later, you will still be able to play these games locally as they were designed and intended to be played, even at least with bots. But you'll not be able to play the newer Battlefield games, vanilla at least, how they were designed. So yeah, it's worth at least, if not all the Refractor Battlefield games, go get the Battlefield 2.
Well, I would say thanks for having me, and if there's anyone listening to this who has never played Battlefield 2 but would like to give it a try, then I would say don't get discouraged, because I know it may seem daunting to find the game and then install the game, install the BF2 hub or whichever system there is in the future, and making it all work. And there's also this factor that the average skill level and experience level on average player of Battlefield 2 is very high nowadays, because pretty much only veterans are staying right now. So this can feel intimidating at first, but feel welcome to stay. We always need new players. I think there are way fewer players playing Battlefield 2 right now than the game actually deserves. I think it deserves way more. So like I said, don't get discouraged and give the game a try. There's a lot to love about it.
Yeah, I would also say thank you for having us here, having me here, and for the interview. And if you want to play Forgotten Hope 2, it's standalone. You can go to playfh2.net and you can just download it for free. It's a launcher. It installs everything, the latest version automatically, and you can just join the fun.
Yeah, I also really want to thank you for putting in this effort to preserve and archive all of this history. I think it's a very commendable effort, and I really appreciate that, because yeah, it's something that I think I've always been very interested in myself, especially since like I didn't necessarily have as much of the multiplayer experience. I didn't know as much about the history on that side, so it's really amazing to see that, to hear about those stories and have those stories for the future. And the same goes, from the other side too, where like a lot of people just don't know about everything that goes on in the single player modding side of all of the different communities from around the world that have put a lot of effort into making these mods. And that's just like another aspect that people just don't hear about and if you don't preserve that history, then it just gets lost to time. So I really appreciate this effort. And if you would like to play Heat of Battle, try it out. You can also search for Heat of Battle Battlefield BF2 on YouTube. There's plenty of gameplay videos. You can get a sense of what it's like. Thank you so much.
Also from me, of course, a big thank you guys for spending 3 hours of your Saturday with me. Was a pleasure talking to you. But for now, I would say that's it for this video. Leave us a comment, tell us what you think about the game, and of course, play the game. Until next time, bye bye.